I want to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I want to first of all welcome everybody to our March 11th Forward Pinellas Commission Council meeting, and we'll get started with our invocation and pledge from Mayor Bujalski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help us as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit and joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that we would be challenged and challenge each other to reach higher and farther, to be the best that we can be. And we also ask you to send blessings to Councilwoman Patty Johnson's family, as we have lost her in the past few weeks and want them to know just how much she meant to us. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Bujalski. Appreciate that. I think we can all just take a deep breath and slow down just a little bit for the next few minutes as we remember our council member, Patty Johnson, today. We run a rapid-paced life, don't we? And we have a lot of friends and family that we touch daily, and we lose them from time to time. Every once in a while, we lose a colleague, a friend, and so we just need to take a moment here to remember Patty. She certainly, first of all, our condolences go out to her husband, Dell, daughter, Patty, and granddaughter, Amber. As I said, she was a dear friend of many of us individually, and I hope to give just a couple of you a moment to say something that might be on your heart. And obviously a friend to all of us, but also a member of PSTA and Pinellas County, our board here, as a chairman of the LCB. She served since 2012 as a council member, and on PSTA almost as long. She was part of our LCB, actually was made the chairman in 2014. And those of you who knew her, you would know that she was a die-hard advocate for the transportation disadvantaged. And when you serve on that board, you have all of the partners that are involved in that effort. And she certainly gave guidance and direction to the group, but then she left with a mandate. And she presented that to all of us. Her unwavering commitment to transportation disadvantage to Pinellas County will be remembered. And she always made sure that Pinellas County got its fair share of funding. So she had a spirit about her that was kind of neat, really unique. But she always brought her A game when she was on our commissions and on our councils. And she I had a long bout of cancer, I guess you would say, and she lost her life in late February. So, and I think most people may know, but there's going to be a gathering tonight at the Pinellas Performing Arts Center on 4951 78th Avenue in Pinellas Park at 7 o'clock. And the public is welcome to attend. In any event, I wanted to give folks up here, if they had a comment or two that they might be able, that they would like to share, you are more than welcome to do so.
I'd just like to say that, Patty really had a heart for the people. My last actual photo that I took with her was a year ago at the Pinellas Park Chili Blaze. And she was smart enough not to be a judge in that. But just even there, she's talking about transportation disadvantage. And the last time I met with her recently was for the Pinellas Park CRA. And that's when she told me she had cancer. I mean, she worked until the very end. She gave until her last for this community. And we were a better place because of her. And it was an honor to work with her. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you for those words. Anybody else?
Both said it beautifully.
Thank you. Okay, well, in any event, thank you for letting us take a few moments to remember our colleague and friend, and we'll now move on to citizens to be heard. I do have 5 cards, but I believe they're all on the same item, so they're on the agenda later, so we'll get to those comments at the appropriate time. And I think we have one recognition.
Let's
For
see.
Florida Bicycle Month.
Oh, we did.
Anything
Yeah.
that you wanted to? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I would just like to acknowledge that March is the bicycle month in Florida, and the reason we do it in March and not in May, which is when the rest of the nation tends to celebrate Florida Bicycle Month, is that it's better weather in Florida. It's a little cooler. We do have our Bike Your City event this Friday. It is a ride that will begin in Safety Harbor's Waterfront Park, and we'll do a little loop through Clearwater on the Ream-Wilson Trail and up to Sunset Point Road and then back into Safety Harbor. We've had great support from both cities, and we look forward to Councilmember Albritton joining us for a ride or a portion of our ride this year. We have, I believe, around 90 registrants this year. I believe that's about right, 85, 90. So it will be about the largest ride. So Commissioner Smith, you'll have to top that next year when we go to Largo, because you had the record last year. But we've really enjoyed doing this. It'll be the, I believe, the 4th year, Clearwater, St. Pete Beach, and Largo. So,
Awesome, thank you, appreciate that. We'll now move on to the consent agenda, where we'll have the approval of the minutes of the February 12th meeting, approval of committee appointments, approval of procurement 20-02 for Forward Pinellas Crash Data Traffic Counts and Level of Service Database Program, and a map adjustment for the City of Clearwater, the official acceptance. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent?
Move to approve. Second.
Did you get it? I'm impressed, you got that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we're going to move into our public hearing section, and just so you know, we will conduct this MPO public hearing. First, the MPO has one proposed amendment, 4 actually, but and then we'll have 4 or 3 council Pinellas County hearings. So the TIP amendment requires a roll call vote. Annual adoption of any priorities require a roll call vote. So I'll read the Pinellas Planning Council part after we get through the 4 amendments. And if, let's see, who's doing it
Jensen
today?
Hackett from
Jensen's doing it. Come on up, Jensen. And we've got 4. Jensen, if you could just give us the all 4 of them in sequence, and then if anybody wants to pull them individually, we will. If not, we'll take them as a group. So, Jensen,
Sure
thank you.
thing. Jensen Hackett, Florida Department of Transportation, for the record. Good afternoon, board members. For the 4 that I'll go through, 3 of them are PSTA amendments, and 1 is our good old friend, the 40th Avenue Northeast over the Pasito Bayou. You may have recognized this one from the past 2 board meetings. I'll give a quick summary. Back in October, it was originally for about $5 million for the bridge project, $9 million total. This went all the way up to state, Florida Department of Transportation for signatures there. Found out there was a number discrepancy where we miscounted the total bridge costs and added that into the actual payback costs and brought that up to $9 million. So that was a mistake that we corrected in January, brought the bridge back down to that original $5 million with the paybacks being listed. After that, I got a call from the city of St. Pete. They said that the numbers still were not making sense to them, so we tried to have a couple meetings to make sense of exactly what was going on with these numbers. They actually had never sent us an updated cost estimate. So that is why this is back in front of you today. The actual cost of the bridge went from the $5.4 million to $10.3 million. So that's what we are readjusting in the tip for today. The payback is still the same. That's a federal payback of $3.75 million. So that will still be coming back to the city of St. Pete in fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 24. Fiscal year 22, I believe, is about $383,000, and then the rest of that will come back in fiscal year 24. So this is why we are correcting this, because of the new cost update from the city of St. Pete, from the $5 million up to the $10 million.
And the last sentence on the summary here was that the amendment will not affect projects already
Correct.
included in the TIP.
Correct.
Thank you. You had a question? Yes.
So where
Commissioner
will the
Seal.
money be coming from then?
All of the upfront money is coming from the city of St. Pete.
What?
So that's coming from the city of St. Pete.
Okay.
So
Or
that's where
Penny
that's coming from. The amount that FDOT and FHWA can contribute on a bridge project is the $3.75 million. So that's why that amount is still staying the same, and that's coming back to the city in fiscal year 22 and 24. But everything up front is coming from the city of St. Pete.
So in the end, the city of St. Pete is paying everything but the 3.75?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you. I just
Yep.
needed clarity.
No, you're fine.
Any other questions for the First Amendment?
I think
Yeah.
it was answered, but the difference in the cost the city of St. Pete is picking up
Yes.
for extras that they are doing along
Correct.
the way.
Yep, correct.
I understand that they're adding like bike lanes and walk lanes and things of that nature as well.
I believe that's correct on those two, yes.
Okay, go ahead with
Okay.
number 2.
And then on the second one, this is the first one of the PSTA grants. This is, they are calling it the Eyes of the City grant. This is an amendment that will award this grant to PSTA for employee training and associated materials, as well as some public outreach that is associated with an educational campaign to create awareness of human trafficking, as well as crime-related activities as it relates to PSTA. The campaign will be designed for bus operators, administrative employees, and the community at large for that assistance with human trafficking and the crime-related activities. The funds that were awarded from FTA were $43,630, and there was a local match of $10,908 from PSTA on that one.
Any questions on the Second Amendment? Okay, go ahead.
All right. The third one is the Innovative Coordination and Mobility Grant. This is another grant coming from FTA. This one will provide funding to support innovative projects that will improve the coordination of transportation services and non-emergency medical transportation services to the TD community at large in Pinellas County. The FTA funds that were awarded were $100,000 through that grant, and then PSTA is local matching $150,000 for that total of $250,000 for this grant program.
How fitting that we have this amendment today.
That is
That's what
correct.
I was getting ready to say.
Yep.
Any questions on this Third Amendment? Okay, go ahead.
And then the fourth amendment is for the Central Avenue Bus Rapid Transit in St. Petersburg. This amendment came to us from PSTA directly. They wanted to make sure that all of their funding was exactly correct before that goes to FTA for approval. So what is happening here is the funding contribution from the FTA portion is increasing $800,000, and the local contribution is increasing by $2.1 million. And so this obviously will not affect any projects already in the TIP, but this is just a funding increase to make sure that the numbers match with what FTA has when this project goes to bid up in Washington, D.C. I was going to say Tallahassee, but Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Any questions on this Fourth Amendment? Okay, and since these are public hearings, correct? If there's anybody who'd like to come forward and ask questions on any of the 4 amendments, you're more than welcome. I don't have any cards, but thank you. Bring it back to the board for a motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Got that? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Bujalski,
Aye.
Commissioner Selfer,
Aye.
Councilmember Albritton,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Rice,
Yes.
Commissioner Welch,
Aye.
Councilmember Gabbard,
Yes.
Commissioner Seal,
Yes.
Mayor Bradbury,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
and Commissioner Eggers.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank
Yes,
you.
speed is this time.
Yeah.
Well, it does. People get fickle with their choices, so. All right, at this time, we'll begin the Pinellas Planning Council public hearings. I will ask the 4 Pinellas staff to present the items, then any of the local governments desiring to do so may address their items. Once these reports are given, I will ask for the proponents of any of the proposals to speak, then opponents, and finally, any other citizen who wishes to comment or ask questions on any of the sub-threshold use cases. We will then hear rebuttal by the applicant as necessary and a staff response or summary. At that time, the board will ask questions. I'll close the public hearing, and then we'll deliberate and take action. Our first case is case 2005, the City of Tarpon Springs. And
I'd like to welcome Nisheen Raman to us. We introduced her at our last meeting, and this is her first opportunity to present to the board.
Shane, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to have you here.
For the record, Nosheen Arman with Ford Pinellas. Today, the first case I will be presenting is CW 2005, submitted by the City of Tarpon Springs. The city seeks to amend the local zoning within its own activity center from T5D, which is in the North Pinellas Avenue Character District, to T4C, which is in the Residential High Character District. And the purpose of the proposed development is to allow, the purpose of the proposed amendment is to allow for the development of townhomes. And it should be noted that a restrictive covenant has been placed on the property, limiting the allowable residential density under current provisions of 15 units per acre per the local designation of T5D. Furthermore, this amendment formally addresses the planning and urban design principles not addressed when the special area plan of which this activity center is a part of was established in 2010. The subject property is located on the northwest corner of North Safford Avenue and East Live Oak Street with an area size of approximately 1.46 acres. Its existing uses are vacant, and surrounding uses include residential, recreational, and commercial properties. The following is an image of the front of the subject property. Next is an image of the existing townhomes just north of the subject property. And the last image is of a dog park located just east of the subject property. The following map on this slide portrays the current countywide plan map category of activity center, and the permitted uses listed in front of you are those of the local zoning of T5D. As you can see, townhome developments are not an allowable use under this current local zoning designation, hence the proposed amendment to T4C. This next slide lists the proposed local zoning designation of T4C, and you can see here, based on its permitted uses, a townhome development is an allowable use. The map in front of you portrays the proposed countywide plan map category, which remains unchanged from activity center. One of the countywide considerations taken into account for a review of such a case is the location of a property within a coastal high hazard area, or CHHA, and upon review, it was found that approximately 0.03 acres of this property falls within the CHHA. However, due to the restrictive covenant that was mentioned, limiting the allowable residential density to 15 units per acre, this proposed amendment will not impact the CHHA. In conclusion, staff finds that the proposed amendment is appropriate for the intended purpose and is consistent with the locational characteristics for the activity center category. And on balance, it can be concluded that the proposed amendment is consistent with the relevant countywide considerations contained in section 6531 of the countywide rules. The following is an analysis of the relevant countywide considerations taken into account for this case.
Thank you.
And lastly, there are just some public comments that were received. 2 members of the public cited the presence of a live oak tree and a gopher tortoise and expressed the desire that these natural resources be either relocated, worked around, or saved. Thank you.
Any questions, staff? Okay, I don't have any cards on this. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a recommendation.
Move approval.
Second.
Seal, Commissioner Seal for the motion, and Commissioner Welch for the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. The next case that I will be presenting is CW 2006, submitted by Pinellas County. The county seeks to amend a property from the recreation open space category to the public semi-public category, and the purpose of the proposed amendment is to allow for the development of a medical office. The subject property is located on the east side of McMullen Booth Road, about 900 feet north of Curlew Road, and the approximate area is 2 of the subject property. 2 acres, excuse me. The existing uses are vacant, and the surrounding uses include residential, stormwater infrastructure, and recreational properties. The following is an image of the front of the subject property. Next is an image of a retention pond located just south of the subject property. And the last image is of a multifamily residential development located west of the subject property, separated by a median from the vacant property. The following map portrays the current countywide plan map category of recreation open space, and based on its permitted uses listed in front of you, a medical office is not an allowable use under this countywide plan category, hence the proposed amendment to public, semi-public. Based on the permitted uses of the public, semi-public category, a medical office would be an allowable use, and the map in front of you portrays the proposed countywide plan map category. One of the other considerations taken into account for a review of this case was the location of the property within a scenic non-commercial corridor, and upon review, this property was found to be located in an SNCC with a residential classification. However, the public, semi-public category is consistent with this classification. Furthermore, there is a development agreement which has been approved by Pinellas County and executed by the property owner, which includes additional buffering and landscaping requirements along the road frontage, which is also consistent with SNCC strategies. In conclusion, staff finds that the proposed amendment is appropriate for the intended purpose and is consistent with the locational characteristics for the public, semi-public category. And on balance, it can be concluded that the proposed amendment is consistent with the relevant countywide considerations contained in section 6531 of the countywide rules. The following is an analysis of the countywide considerations taken into account. And lastly, there were a number of public comments for this case, some of them being a petition in opposition with 76 signatures and 2 letters in opposition. Some of the concerns for these letters and petitions in opposition included traffic concerns, the loss of green open space, flooding concerns, development along the SNCC, a belief that there are other pre-existing commercially zoned locations that are available for development, and a worry that this will set a precedent. And furthermore, petitions in support with 13 and 6 signatures respectively were received, as well as 1 letter in support. This concludes my presentation on this case.
Questions, please, from the board? Yes, Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to ask questions about this particular part of the county. I'm not as familiar as the chairman on North County. Can you show the map that shows the recreation and open space along McMullen Booth?
The previous one or this one?
That one will do. I'm just looking at a map on Google Earth, and it doesn't look to be any development on that side of the road.
Correct.
And I think that's where the opposition is coming from. I guess I'm thinking, what is the county's vision for this area, Mr. Chairman, in terms of recreation, open space? You've got the Oldsmar Sports Complex on the other side of that. And to me, it looks like it would be setting a precedent. Is that what the opposition is talking about in those petitions?
Regarding the precedent, this particular piece of land the ownership has been changed to a private owner, and the surrounding lands are all publicly owned. I don't know if any staff member from the county wants to comment on the surrounding lands and the concern with the precedent.
What?
Good afternoon, Glenn Bailey, Pinellas County Planning Department. Hi. I do have a map here, if you could show this, an aerial photo of the property. The subject property is outlined in blue. It is the only privately owned property on that side of McMullen Booth Road between Curlew and Tampa Roads. And this property, a little history of it, in 2005, the county owned that property. They wanted to build a water tower on that site, and there was a lot of public opposition to that. So they ended up swapping that property with the Southwest Florida Water Management District with another property to the northeast. They built a tower there. In 2014, Swiftmud surplused this property and sold it to a private individual who still owns it now. He is the owner of record and applicant. And really, there's no precedent set here because, as you can see, you got drainage, retention ponds, the outfall canal water control structure here. Pinellas County owns, Swiftmud owns, Pinellas County owns DOT retention pond. There's no other privately owned properties along that side of McMullen Booth Road in here that would be.
So it's all the way up to Tampa Road to Curlew. That's the only.
Correct.
North to the left of the screen is up towards Tampa Road.
Correct. This is the multifamily development that had opposition to this. They were worried about just having anything over there, and also traffic concerns. We believe the development agreement addresses those traffic concerns. They have a right in, right out. They're going to address the median opening here. And if you got more questions about that, I'm sure the applicant or the representative could speak to those. So we feel this is a good use for that site.
So you're saying Swift Mud sold this to the current
They
property owner?
surplused it, and he won, I guess, in an auction.
And did he have any expectation that there would be a change in the use so that he could put?
That would be something the
Commercial.
applicant can, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Yeah, Mayor.
Well, it's really a comment to Commissioner Welch's question. I'm looking at my Commissioner Gao because I know he's going to remember what I say. The only thing anybody does there is jump in that stormwater drain. That's the only recreation going on there.
Okay.
There's pipes that go and
Trying to
people,
catch you.
kids jump
Yeah.
off the pipes and the crossover into that stormwater big.
It's so small, it's not really a viable use for private recreation, anything that we can think of. And,
It's very small.
Some history on it, there is some debris that was piled up there from one of the roadway widenings years ago, so it's a lot of invasive species on there as well.
Any other questions for?
I will just add real quick that there is the Oldsmar Trail just to the east of this canal bypass, so there is a multi-use trail on the east side of the
The
canal.
canal, yeah. Yeah, nothing on this side of the canal.
On the east side.
Right.
Ask one other question, Mr. Chairman. So what's the building right by the side? Yeah,
That's Swift Mud's water control structure to control the flooding and the water coming out of the Alfalfa Canal from Lake Tarpon.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I've got, let's start with proponents. Yeah. I've got 5 cards here. There's Katie Cole, who's representing the property owner. Katie, you want to come up first? How much time? 3 minutes. 3 minutes, enough time? Or you need more?
Probably not.
Okay.
We have our experts here as well to present
Okay.
as the property owner and
Okay,
the
go ahead.
applicant. Good afternoon. Katie Cole with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing Dr. Michael Picos, who's the contract purchaser of the property and has submitted this application to Pinellas County. Just for a little bit of history, the first application presented relative to this parcel was in 2016, and the county staff and the county's local planning authority was not receptive at that time because there were no controls associated with it. While it was still an office, proposed office use, there was not landscaping, there were not transportation improvements and such as that. During the past 3 years, the owner of the property and the contract purchaser has worked with the county staff and had meetings with the neighborhood and hired a traffic engineer to respond to these concerns. Through that time, there are proposed transportation improvements at the intersection. I think it's important to note, Mike Razor with Razor Engineering is here, who did the traffic study and prepared these intersection improvements. These improvements are not required by the land use map amendment or the development. These were voluntary improvements to appease the concerns of the neighbors and to try to satisfy their concerns about the access to their road. And Mr. Razor is here to speak. I understand there's still some neighborhood objectors, and so for that reason, I will take a few more minutes than 3 minutes to have Ms. Cindy Terrapini, who is the planning consultant who's been working on this, to speak as to how specifically this does meet the countywide considerations. I would like to let you know that this was a staff recommendation of approval by Pinellas County staff. It was unanimously recommended for approval by the local planning agency, and the Board of County Commissioners did unanimously approve on first reading and the development agreement that the staff referred to. So with that, I'll invite Ms. Terrapini.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Cindy Terrapini. I'm president and owner of Terrapini Planning Strategies, and I represent the applicant, Dr. Michael Picos, who is the proposed user of the property. As was said, I think it's really important to note, this site was swapped by Pinellas County with Swift Mud in 2005. The current property owner purchased it in 2014, so 5 years ago. We did have a previous application. And the staff and the neighbors both had concerns, and the concerns the staff told us were there's no development agreement and no site plan to really say what you can do at the site, and there's no traffic study, and we're unsure as to how this would work. So in response, we prepared a conceptual site plan, which is in the development agreement, and I have it if you'd like to see it. And we also prepared a traffic study. And let's talk about the traffic study first and those improvements. I think those are really important. The traffic study showed a couple of things, and Mike Razor is here in case I say anything wrong since I'm not a traffic engineer, but if you have more questions for him, of course. First of all, this section of McMullen Booth Road is level of service B. That's B as in boy, so it's very acceptable level of service here. Additionally, this site will only add 0.5% new trips onto the existing roadway. So it's really almost, I would call it de minimis impact in road traffic trips wise. But what I want to show you is the road improvements that we've committed to do that are in the development agreement, and I believe the DA is in your package so you can see that, but just so we can talk about it all, let me just walk through this a little bit. So to orient you, north is at the top of the page. This is the site we're talking about, the plan amendment site. On this side of the page is the Landmark Oaks condos, which was the residents that had concerns. And the concern was that they only have one entrance in and out of their site, which is on McMullen Road. They have no other road access. Today, this is an open median that people coming north on McMullen Booth Road turn into the project. People coming south can make a U-turn. People leaving Landmark Oaks condos can go either, well, obviously they can go south, but they can come through the median and go north on McMullen Booth Road. So when we add our project, which is relatively close to that existing median, there was concern about safety, obviously, and cars colliding with each other in that particular median, two different movements occurring. So we've done several things to avoid and make that a much safer intersection. Number one, at our site, we will build a new right turn lane into the site. For exiting the site, there will be a raised curb so that people exiting the office site, the medical office site, can only go north. They will not be able to go across the median and turn south. They will only be able to travel north. On the Landmark Oaks site, to protect their existing travel movements, and they will have all the same travel movements that they have today. So we are building an extended left turn lane for them. That's, again, traveling, if you're traveling north to come home to Landmark Oaks. We extended that travel lane, which is, again, not our obligation, but we are doing that. And then this, what the county calls a pork chop, it's kind of a good name for it. It's a raised median that will only allow that northbound left into the condos, but it will also allow anyone leaving Landmark Oaks to turn left and go north. So it's kind of, as you can see, it's separated. This is the left turn movement in, and this is the left turn movement out. So that raised median, not just painted on the ground, but an actual raised median, separates those movements. And again, our traffic is not going in that median at all because we will not be able to make that turn. So those improvements are, again, safety issues. We think they're important. We actually talked to the neighbors about this exact improvement. We didn't have the exhibit at the time, but we did talk to them about that improvement. We also showed them the site plan that was presented to the Board of County Commissioners, and we talked to them about that as well. The other thing the DA does is it limits the use of the property, this 2-acre property, to one of the least intense uses you can imagine. It's a medical office. It's a specialized dental oral surgeon doctor that will be at this office. We've reduced the intensity of the building to only 18,000 square feet, which is about 30% of what could be done in that zoning district. We've limited it to 1 story. And again, the only use that can go on that site is medical office. That's it. No other use of all the possibilities in the zoning district in the county. That's the only use that can be done. We also because it's a scenic non-commercial corridor, we've also have in the development agreement obligations to do enhanced landscaping to provide 25% more trees than are required. And again, I have an exhibit to see that if you'd like to. We have doubled the size of the trees at planting. We have doubled the width of the landscape buffer along the scenic corridor along McMullen Booth Road. And thank you, Commissioner Eggers made some comments at the Board of County Commissioners meeting that we continue to explore other landscaping enhancements, and we're certainly willing to do that with the county staff during the permitting process. There may be an opportunity, for example, for a berm or increased amount of shrubs or taller shrubs at planting, but all those options we are open to, and we are certainly committed to working with the staff as we go through that particular process. The final thing I wanted to mention, and I think someone else had a better exhibit than I did, but this will not set any sort of precedent. I think your staff and also Mr. Bailey explained on that segment between Curlew and Tampa Road, this is the only privately owned property on that entire segment on the east side of the road. Pinellas County owns the majority of it. In fact, they were the ones who sold this piece that, to Swift Mud that started this process. Swift Mud owns the piece to the immediate north for the canal structure and that operations. And down at the corner of Curlew, there's a Curlew Road in Pasco County. I've been working in Pasco lately too. At that intersection, there's an FDOT pond. So although it looks on the aerial like the property is vacant along that segment, technically it is vacant of buildings, but it is not vacant of use. It is either in use by Pinellas County for stormwater, by DOT for stormwater, and for Swift Mud for the canal structure facilities. And I want to mention one more thing. Some folks have not recognized this. Our property, this 2-acre piece, does not touch the outfall structure land. It actually, there is a gap between the east edge of this property and the outfall ownership. So Swift Mud owns the property to the east of this site. For obvious reasons, they retained that when they sold it to the current property owner. So I've given you a lot of information. I'm going to stop now. We're certainly happy to answer any of your questions. And if you do want more traffic information, Mr. Razor is here and can answer those questions also.
Yes.
What prevents on the proposed site north, pulling out of the property, from going across and doing a UE? And if not that, going up, how far do they have to go up to do a UE?
People leaving the
Leaving the
office
property,
site?
yeah, correct.
They have to go north. Mike could probably tell us the exact distance, but there is another median opening to the north where they can make a U-turn.
Okay.
But they will not, because there will be a raised structure here, they will not be able to go straight across this existing median and go south at this intersection.
Correct, but I'm asking if they go over into the third lane, try to do a UE, what prevents them from
They
doing that?
go into the
The
third.
traffic.
The traffic.
Oh, if
I'm good
they
to
made a
traffic.
right here and tried to get over right here,
I'm not
it's
up in that area.
channelized. This is for left turns only. So it'll be, will
Marking
someone
everything.
try it someday? Unfortunately, perhaps.
Okay.
But
Question,
it
but mainly I
is-
want to know how far someone has to go up to
yeah, I'll
do
let
a
Mike
UE.
answer that question.
Good afternoon. Michael Razor, President of Razor Transportation Consulting, a registered professional engineer. In regard to the question about turning out of the driveway and then doing a quick U-turn at the median opening that's aligned almost with the driveway, there's nothing that would prevent somebody who really wanted to do that from making that turn, just like there are many opportunities in the entire state to do something like that. But it would be a very difficult maneuver to make, crossing 3 lanes with 20 feet or so to make a nearly 180-degree turn without enough distance to really do that. So I think that between the traffic volumes, common sense, and the type of patrons that would be the patrons of this particular site would minimize, if not keep that from happening. In regard to U-turn opportunities, there is another driveway connection median break a few hundred feet to the north. I'm not sure exactly what that distance is offhand, but it is an existing median opening with an existing northbound to westbound left turn lane that could be used for U-turns as well. The traffic volumes at that location are relatively minimal now. We have done an analysis which looked at the operations with and without the proposed medical office, dental office rather, and there were no changes to there's materially insignificant changes to the operating characteristics with any U-turns generated by this site. And again, speaking to the type of patrons that would frequent this very specialized dental office, there are other opportunities if that U-turn was not something that folks would want to do. It's not much further up to Tampa Road where there are signals that could be allowed to come back to the south. The slip lane to the signal on Tampa Tampa Road to come over to the west, and then another signal to head south if someone wanted to do it that way. But there is an opportunity to get south, whether it be the next U-turn opportunity to the north or in about the same general distance, few hundred feet. Tampa Road is located there with traffic signals that would facilitate that movement as well.
Thank you.
Mayor Bujalski.
And I don't know who to ask my question to, whether it's WIT or these folks. You've classified it or called it a scenic, non-commercial corridor. Is it the typical scenic corridors that we're used to dealing with?
Yes.
So what makes it a scenic corridor? Is it the canal with no building next to it?
So the scenic non-commercial corridor dates back probably 20 years or so. And the intent was to not allow the over-commercialization of many of our corridors, whether they are scenic or not. So scenic / non-commercial, it's not necessarily both.
How far does that scenic corridor go?
I don't know the exact limits. That may be a question for Rodney.
I think from Wella Booth, it's pretty much from State Road 60 to the
I thought it
county
was State
line.
Road 60 up to the county line, but I
Okay,
may
so
be
that's been
mistaken.
blown apart for many years then, the development there.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Rodney Chapman, Division Manager, yes, the designation goes all the way up to the Pasco County line.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was a kid, it was a scenic corridor for sure. It was farmland.
Yes.
Depends on how you define scenic.
Yeah.
Well, and again,
There's
it's
trees.
it's scenic non-commercial / non-commercial, not
Right, and
scenic
that's-
and non-commercial.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of our bridges are designated this way. We've had cases before. We certainly recognize that there's some confusion in scenic non-commercial designations, and we do want to revisit that at staff at some point.
But it's not just this section.
It's not just
Okay.
this section, it's the whole corridor.
Okay, thank you.
Could I add something to that, Mr. Chairman? Also, the difference is non-commercial. Doesn't mean not office. Office is allowed along the scenic corridor. I mean, you have it both on this site, immediate to the north at the Tampa Road and McMullen Booth intersection. You have a major retail and office development. In addition, less than a half a mile to the south is the Meesmore Countryside Complex that has not only the hospital, but many medical offices, as well as a substantial amount of churches on the west side. So all of those are considered non-commercial because they're not retail. And we are obviously not retail, we are a medical office on this site.
And the intent is really to cluster those kinds of developments in nodes and not allow this linear pattern of sprawl development along the corridor.
Any other questions?
Just, Katie, you mentioned this came to the commission for first reading. Do you have the date?
You were absent, Mr. Welch.
Okay.
You're like, I have no
feel so much
recollection.
better.
Yes.
I don't remember any of
In
that.
fact, you and one other colleague, because
Okay.
the vote was 5-0, so it was in January.
Okay.
And, yes, so it was there, but you were not there, so you don't have.
Okay.
But I do want to make a correction to the record of what I said.
Sure.
The LPA, I apologize, their recommendation to the county commission was 3-2. The two who voted against it did not give reasons, but I wanted to correct that. I apologize. I just had that wrong in my notes. So.
Thank you for that. Any other questions of the two expert witnesses? And Katie, did you have anything else at this time?
No, we would like to reserve for rebuttal. I know that there are some of the neighbors that are here, so thank you.
You've taken about 15, so you know.
Now, I want you to remember that, Katie. I don't do that to you.
I know.
Yeah, well, have to watch Katie. No, I'm kidding. All right. Now, I think all three of those that were proponents, although the cards don't show them as opponents, both of these are from Landmark Oaks Condo Association. So I'm assuming, could the two people, Angela and Jacqueline, raise their hand? And are you both opponents? Okay, so make sure that. Did we have anybody else in the audience that were proponents? Okay. Angela Lockwood, please come forward as an opponent to this item. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Angela Lockwood. I am on the Board of Directors for Landmark Oaks Condos. On January 22nd of 2020, I contacted the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office and asked if I could get a copy of all traffic stops, violations, and accidents that happened on McMullen Booth Road between Curlew Road and Tampa Road for one full calendar year. I was informed at that point that the only report I would be able to receive was for the whole stretch of McMullen Booth Road for all the violations, and it was sent to me via email, which came to 170 pages that I had to go through. My husband and I patiently went through each page, marked each page for the stops only from Curlew to Tampa. On this 0.8 of a mile, there were 459 traffic stops violations out of 4,425 stops on the whole of McMullen Booth Road. This comes out approximately to 10%. I know it's a very small amount, but because we have lived here for 20 years, the entrance and exit, because it is only one, we only have one way to get in and out, becomes very congested. In the morning time, between the hours of 6:30 and 9, you have a very difficult time making the right-hand turn to go towards Curlew. You cannot make a left-hand turn to go up to Tampa Road. What we have to do, and I know many of my neighbors do, is we go right onto Curlew, and then it is right towards Lake St. George, and then we come around back down onto Tampa Road to be able to make that move to either go left on Tampa Road or right on Tampa Road. I can't give you the exact number of people that have to do this, but it is very difficult. I know that when I have early doctor appointments, most of my doctors are to the left-hand side. I have to be vigilant about leaving enough time to be able to make this 4-point turn. It is difficult. I do it, and I know other people do it. After 9 o'clock, it seems to be better, and then around 3:30, 4 o'clock, the traffic becomes very congested again, like most of the traffic in this area. So I do understand, but I did want to give you those numbers, you know, to consider. And I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and then Jacqueline Mann, please. Hi, welcome.
Just want to be sure that I can get my map where you can all see it, so can you guide me to?
Right on.
Thank you.
And you'll have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Is that visible?
Yes.
Hopefully, I can't tell. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Mann. I am a resident of Landmark Oaks Condos. As you can tell from the prior discussion and from my map, our complex is located on the west side of McMullen Booth Road, directly across from the site or the parcel that's under discussion today. So we are going to be the homeowners and the residents who are most immediately affected by any change to the 2-acre parcel on the east side of McMullen Booth Road. I'm here to represent our board of directors and our 152 homeowners to oppose the zoning and land use change. At the hearing in December, I presented 72 petitions in opposition. The January hearing, I presented an additional 32 for a total of 110. These are photocopies of those 110, which were submitted at both of those meetings. So that's over a 2/3 majority of our homeowners opposing the zoning and land use change. We're going to be most affected by additional traffic, northbound, southbound, additional traffic congestion despite any median changes, affected by some visibility based on this pork chop and the access in and out of Landmark Oaks, and also for potential for accidents because we see that on a regular and daily basis by people who are already exceeding speed limits going north and south. There was some discussion about the scenic non-commercial corridor, what it means, what it involves. The key thing for us is we have this green and open space. The parcel directly across from Landmark Oaks, this stretch of green that goes up, any commercial endeavors currently exist to the north but off the road at Tampa Road, and to the south where the hospital is. But again, you can see from this green, we are looking at green. We would like to continue to look at green. The zoning and land use initially was recreation and open space. I understand that commercial means retail, but to us, commercial is a building. We lose our green space. As a result, I would like to just say in conclusion, our 152 homeowners and residents of Landmark Oaks and the board of directors still oppose this despite the improvements that have been offered up. And we hope that you will offer this due consideration, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that's all the cards that I had. Is there any other opponents here that would like to speak that didn't get registered? Okay. Finally, we'll go back to Katie. You've got some time, Katie, if you'd like to rebut anything that has been said.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson and Board. Just a few things. One, with respect to the intersection improvements, the final design of those improvements will be worked out with the county staff at the time of building permit. But I think it's important to note that those improvements were designed specifically for the safety of the Landmark Oaks residents in their current situation. It improves an existing bad situation. It provides a pork chop there, as Ms. Terrapini described, separating physical northbound and southbound traffic that currently isn't physically separated. As was stated in your staff report, there is no reasonable private commercial use for this parcel, and public semi-public designation is a low-intensity designation. It's very commensurate with that open space rec use. This is the only privately held property on the east side of McMullen Booth Road in this vicinity. And this change, from looking at the countywide map and the countywide considerations, is consistent with those considerations as recommended by your staff. We would respectfully appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Just
yes.
In general, and I guess appreciate your explanation on the traffic. And I appreciate you assuring me that I haven't lost my mind by not remembering this. But what, I'm struggling with is the loss of that green space. Did your client purchase that understanding that they have to get a change in land use to utilize it the way they want to?
I think that anytime anybody purchases a piece of property, there's the opportunity. That's the reason we have a code that provides for modifications to our land use plan, is that what is encapsulated in that plan today isn't always what's reflective of the appropriate uses. And so there's a method in the countywide rules to make those changes. His expectation, one way or another, I couldn't speak to particularly. We represent the contract purchaser who has a desired use. Respectfully, in the same manner that the Landmark Oaks residents feel like they are have a right, I guess I would say that there's no more right to presume you have the right to the open space you're looking at that somebody else owns than there is to say that that private property owner doesn't have the opportunity to come ask, consistent with the rules, consistent with the county plan and the countywide considerations, to make those changes.
So I did see a for sale sign, I think, on Google Earth. So
we represent the contract purchaser.
Not the current owner, but the entity that's going to buy the property.
Yes, Dr.
Okay.
Picos.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
The double buffer that was mentioned from the
landscaping,
what exactly is the setback, and what would that include as far as making it a double buffer?
Pull out the site plan, look over my shoulder for Cindy. She probably knows it off the top of her head instead of me looking at the.
That's okay.
Thank you for that question, Cindy Terrapini. The code requirement is a 5-foot landscape buffer in width along the frontage. We've doubled it to 10 in and that's in the development agreement. We also, in the enhanced landscaping, have doubled the size of all the trees at planting. We've added 25% more trees to be installed along that roadway than required. The actual buffer is probably going to be more than 10, simply because of the way the site lays out, but we are absolutely committed to those enhancements that I just spoke of.
Okay.
And along those lines, I think it's also important to note that the right-of-way in this area is over 200 feet wide. Okay. It is 200 feet wide, so.
Actually, that's
Any other?
That's all right.
Oh, did you have something that you wanted to show?
I just would, since I have it and there was questions asked about it, this is the site plan showing the number of trees that will be required to be put on that site with the additional. So it's, there's a lot of trees that will be going on that site along the frontage. And again, you know, that's the enhancement, the width and the doubling the size of the trees at planting, I think is another improvement that we've obligated ourselves to do.
I was just, the condominium had mentioned that the two parcels, their buffer setback farther, setback. I was just wondering what this, how their setbacks were concerning the setbacks that you are proposing.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if they said that they were.
The setbacks that the condos have, is that what you're asking?
No. The parcels that are on each side is what I understood. I was just wondering.
To the north and south?
Yes. I was just curious where those were concerning what you are doing so that I could have a visual on that, but.
There is not any development on
Okay.
the parcels to the north
North
and
or
south
south.
of this proposed parcel.
Okay, so it's just open.
It's a
Okay.
county-owned site, a Swift-Mode-owned site.
Right,
the Swift-
okay.
so-
I was,
This
okay.
is our site. As you can see, we don't go all the way back to the edge.
Right.
This is Swift-Mode owned. This is Swift-Mode owned. It's actually where the structure, the canal outfall structure is to control the canal. This is county owned. This is DOT owned as a pond. There's a pond, partial ponds on this Pinellas County owned piece. And then from the Swift-Mode piece north all the way to Tampa Road is Pinellas County owned.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other, yes, Mayor?
Can you just go over real quick the number of trips this is going to create?
Yes, ma'am. Let me get to that page. Yeah, let me.
Here comes your engineer, if you.
Good, he probably knows it. Yeah, I'm just looking at his report, so I didn't calculate these, so you can trust him. The PM peak hour trip is 63 new trips for the project, and the AM peak hour trip for the office would be 49 new trips.
Okay.
And it's 0.5% of the trips that are on the road today.
And the level of the surface of the road?
This particular segment of McMullen Booth Road is level of service B, B as in boy.
Isn't that interesting? We don't normally have that many kind of
Bees?
Bs. We have lots of Ds and Fs, but not a lot of Bs.
Yes, it's
And
B.
so how close does it bring it to changing it from a B to a C?
Not close at all. I mean, it's,
Not close at all.
like, again, the trips generated by this particular site are very minimal and de minimis compared to what's out there today. And in addition to the adjacent segment being B, it's interesting to note that at the north end of this segment with Tampa Road, to the west, Tampa Road's at D, still not deficient. To the east, it's C. To the south on Curlew Road, it's C on both sides. So we're in an area which is not propagated with level of service F. It's acceptable levels of service in the general node in that vicinity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anything else, Katie? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing has been closed, and so I'll bring it back to the council board for a decision. Need a motion for the project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Did you get the, Mayor Bradbury was the maker, Commissioner Seal was the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Motion, Susie.
10, 11, 9 to 2. Do we have 11?
10 to 2, there's 12 of you up there.
Okay, well then,
Nays on Commissioner Welch and Commissioner Silver.
correct. The rest were ayes, so whatever that number is, the motion carries. What's that?
Yes.
There's math involved with
Yeah,
that, Chair.
I got it. I think I got that. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to number 3, City of Largo.
Yes, the final case I will be presenting today is CW 2007, submitted by the City of Largo. The city seeks to amend a property from the recreation open space category to the employment category, and the purpose of the proposed amendment is to allow for the development of a self-storage facility. The subject property is located on Highland Avenue Southeast, just south of East Bay Drive, with an area size of approximately 5.62 acres. Its existing uses are currently vacant, with surrounding uses including commercial, educational, and recreational properties. The following is an image from the front of the subject property. Next is an image of a racetrack gas station located just north of the subject property. And lastly is an image of the Pinellas Gulf Coast Academy located just west of the subject property. The following map portrays the current countywide plan map category of recreation open space with its permitted uses listed in front of you. As you can see from these uses, a self-storage facility is not an allowable use under this countywide plan category, hence the proposed amendment to employment, which is shown on this following map, along with its permitted uses, which does allow for the development of a self-storage facility. In conclusion, the proposed amendment is appropriate for the intended purpose and is consistent with the locational characteristics of the employment category. Furthermore, a development agreement has been approved by the City of Largo and executed by the property owner and is thus eligible for consideration under the amendment process. And this development agreement essentially limits the property to only allow for the development of a self-storage facility and limits the local category to industrial limited. And on balance, it can be concluded that the proposed amendment is consistent with the relevant countywide considerations contained in Section 6531 of the countywide rules. The following is the usual analysis of the relevant countywide considerations taken into account for this case. And lastly, there were no public comments for this case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Mayor Wojciechowski?
So when I'm looking on Google Earth, it calls that area the Largo Central Park Nature Preserve with hiking trails, pond, and wildlife viewing.
That's the back end.
That's the back end?
Correct, yes. It's not
That
actually
used to
part
be
of
a
the
golf
property.
course.
Right.
Yeah, the front end was a golf driving range.
And the driving range is gone now?
It's gone, yeah. The front end used to have the building and everything.
Yeah,
and
were
that
they, that big,
Yeah,
with the nets?
batting cage and all that, so that's gone, turned into the gas station. The back end was the driving range,
Yeah.
and then behind that is the preserve.
Behind it,
To the south.
To the south.
oh, over here?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not keeping that for any kind of parkland in your city? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yes,
Um,
Councilman.
How is it that a storage facility qualifies under an employment category?
Based on these permitted uses, the self-storage facility is an allowable use. It's basically commensurate with the local zoning category, which is industrial limited. That is just our equivalent on the countywide plan map.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I got real excited when I saw, employment. And then
Yeah.
I'm thinking, how many people are going to be employed here? Really? Storage? Mayor Bradbury.
That was my question that I had, and industrial limited, storage has nothing to do with industrial either. So I'm wondering why.
That's my question.
The category is either one of those. I would think that self-storage category needs to be moved out of both of those. Because it's not industrial unless there is storing industrial equipment, and it's not employment. It is very deceiving.
Just to clarify, self-storage is considered a subset of the storage warehouse distribution use, which is a general use that's allowed in the employment category.
But if it's a self-storage, then it doesn't have to do with any of that stuff.
Several years ago, we consolidated our
I know,
categories,
and
so
that
I
right
understand.
there would be a perfect opportunity for us to revisit that and move it to another category.
At the moment, it is grouped under that use. That is certainly something we could look at going forward.
Thank you. Did somebody else? Anybody else over here? Question? Okay. This was, did I get something from, Katie, did I get something from you? Yes, come on up.
But there was stuff somewhere.
I thought I saw something up here. Thank you.
I didn't fill out two cards. I wrote both case
That was
numbers
on,
on
it was
one
on the same
card.
card. Thanks, Katie.
Good afternoon, Katie Cole again with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing the property owner. And I wanted to take this opportunity to specifically address some of the questions because this is a somewhat unique request. Back in 2015, the applicant and property owner began working with the City of Largo for the designation along the street frontage of commercial. and that's where the racetrack is located. At the time, the city of Largo was not comfortable extending the commercial designation for the entire property. It's important that from a historical standpoint, this was a commercial recreation use. It was historically had a land use that you all, Mr. Smith, and I know is most familiar with this, but Largo does not have zoning. It only has land use. And so skipping forward to answering your question, Ms. Bradbury, it is much broader categories and uses, permitted uses that go in those categories because of the lack of a zoning category to further limit it. But back in the 70s, this was a commercial property. When the comprehensive plan was created, it received a rec open space designation, even though it was continued to be this commercial driving range and putt-putt golf and pro shop and everything else. So back in 2016, when the city brought forward a countywide plan amendment to change the frontage to commercial, the rear remained rec open space because there was not a proposed use there. And as I said, the city at the time was not comfortable changing the entire parcel to commercial. Over the past 4 years, the applicant and the city staff has worked very closely together to determine what would be appropriate uses. And again, the staff was not comfortable with an entirely commercial use there. There are some site constraints with respect to the Duke Power easement and right-of-way lines that are there and the proximity to the transfer station, which is immediately adjacent, that made it in today's market not as marketable for a residential use. And so really it came to what would be an appropriate economic use of this property. Self-storage, I know, has a lot of discussion around the county, but also because this is the entryway to City of Largo's Nature Park, the City of Largo was not comfortable with industrial or employment designation without a specified use and development agreement. So this application on a local level does include a development agreement. A copy of that's in your packet. You can see from the site plan attached to that, it has significant buffers, more so than what would otherwise be required by the city. The stormwater area and landscaping to the south and west is intended to provide that transition as you enter into the City of Largo's recreation or open space area. And the applicant's really done a lot of architectural treatments. The city requested having a concrete wall along the roadway. So there are a lot of architectural treatments and landscape and buffer areas to ensure that this is protected. The development agreement limits the use to storage because, as you can imagine, adjacent to their nature preserve, the City of Largo did not want an open industrial type of heavy industrial use. So there are a lot of nuances to this case. Ironically, before you is simply the countywide considerations, and from that standpoint, it's somewhat of an easier transition than what the city's been struggling with over the past few years. But the applicant's been pleased to come to these agreements with the city and appreciate the city commission's support and happy to move forward and put this property to use. So with that, I know Mr. Perez from the City of Largo is here as well if you have any other questions. And Mr. Smith has heard presentations on this property several times over the course of the past 4 years, so he can also offer any other background. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody from the City of Largo that would like to speak? No? Anybody else in the audience? Okay. I didn't know if there's, I didn't ask, I should have asked. Any other questions from the board? We all?
I'd just like to know how you feel, Mr. Smith.
I've come aboard. I really appreciate.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I know you're generally
Yes.
pro green space, and that's why I'm asking.
Yes, we actually looked at it to see if the city could purchase it for the recreation park, the park, and it was just not suited for it. But I do agree. I've come along and they've worked with our staff, and I really appreciate the retention pond that they're putting in front of our preserve to buffer it, and a lot of the trees that they're putting in. I don't like storage units, but we can work on that down the road. But
Okay.
I'm agreeable.
Thank you for sharing.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll share it with you.
Oh, she can have it, and I'll second it.
Councilmember Sofer, motion. Mayor Kennedy. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Nasheen, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, welcome. Okay, we're going to move on to our presentation and/or action items, and first one up is our PSTA update from Commissioner Long.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the beginning of our PSTA meeting this month, we honored and celebrated our 2019 Driver of the Year, Milan Rakovic, who is from Yugoslavia. He's been with us since 1997, and he's done a great job improving his English and has turned into a stellar representative PSTA. For the fourth year in a row, the City of Clearwater and PSTA are partnering to help improve access to beachgoers during our busy spring break season, and we are continuing to do so to avoid the stress of traffic congestion on the bridge and the anxiety of finding a parking spot once you get over there. The City of Clearwater and PSTA provide this service to anyone who parks and rides, and the service began on March 1st and will run through the end of April. It's going to be especially helpful during the Sugar Sand Festival, and hopefully will be beyond the coronavirus by then, since so much effort and work goes into that little festival. PSTA is also once again partnering with the City of Dunedin and the Toronto Blue Jays for a free park and ride from downtown Dunedin to the spring training games. And lastly, and most critically, we're taking the coronavirus very seriously, just as every one of us here are within our jurisdictions. And we've directed additional resources to sanitize our buses more often, reminding our staff to frequently wash their hands and use hand sanitizer. And we're working closely with the Pinellas County EOC and the County Health Department, as well as the Federal Transit Administration, to ensure we're doing our part to contain this very fast-spreading disease. And our next regular board meeting is on March 25th. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Seal, a T-BARTA activity report.
Yes, this is from the Friday, February 21st meeting, and we have an updated employee policy manual, and very important project. There's going to be a PSTA bus on shoulder demonstration project on I-275 in St. Petersburg, and they're going to have ramp meters at the on-ramps from 38th Avenue and 54th Avenue. So we are contributing $30,000 in FTA funding for this demonstration project. Next, we approved a master agreement with University of South Florida for Qatar, and we approved the commuter van pool services contract amendment to enterprise leasing to extend that. Had a legislative update, and finally, our presentations were on the M-Course program, on a innovative transit technology study, and smart infrastructure and future mobility. So our next meeting is March the 20th at Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Heart. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the PPC and MPO annual audit. Sherry Becker is here, I think, and Scott, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. I'm here to present to you the results of our audit of the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Pinellas Planning Council. We have planned and performed these audits in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, as well as in accordance with government auditing standards. In the case of MPO, we have also performed a single audit, which is an audit of the grant, federal grant expenditures. The first slide here is the results of our MPO audit. We issued our report dated March 2nd for your financial statements as of 9/30/2019. In those financial statements, there are 3 deliverables. The first is the audit opinion, which appears on page 1. The audit opinion expresses an unmodified opinion on those financial statements. An unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance that we can provide. It means that we believe that your financial statements are fairly stated and can be relied upon by a third party. In the back of, yes, sir.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you could raise the voice just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm trying to make sure everybody can hear.
Sure. In the back of the financial statements, the last couple of pages, there are other deliverables. One is a yellow book report, or a report in accordance with government auditing standards. That report does not express an opinion. Rather, it describes our scope of testing of internal controls in compliance with grants and laws, rules, regulations. Nevertheless, if we find instances of noncompliance or you find control deficiencies throughout our audit, that report will disclose such. That is a clean report with no identified instances of noncompliance or control deficiencies. Also on MPO, we have a single audit report that is with the Yellow Book report, which also describes our scope of testing compliance with grants. And that is also a clean report with no instances of noncompliance. Beyond those two letters are two other deliverables that are unique to local governments in the state of Florida. The management letter required by the Auditor General, as well as a compliance with investment policies examination report. Those are also clean reports with nothing noteworthy to disclose. We also issue, as part of our audit, a letter. This letter includes all the information about this audit that you would want to know in the absence of me giving this kind of opinion. We're not going to go through the detail of that, but anything noteworthy we would discuss here in this presentation. Also, just to note, if during the course of our audit we identify adjustments to the financial statements that are required to be recorded in order for your financial statements to be fairly stated, we would disclose those to you in this letter and in this presentation. If there were any adjustments that we identified but perhaps were not sufficiently material to be required to be adjusted, we would also disclose that to you. For our audit of MPO, we did not have any audit adjustments nor past audit adjustments. Now this slide changes subtly from the one before. This is for PPC. PPC does not have a single audit report since there is no grant spending. On page 1 of your PPC financial statements, we issued our opinion dated March 2nd, 2020. That opinion also expresses an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide. The Yellow Book report in the back of the financial statements do not disclose any instances of material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or non-compliance with laws, rules, regulations, and contracts. And also, as with MPO, there were no audit adjusting journal entries or past audit adjusting journal entries. Now, for the sake of the next couple of slides, we combine both organizations, PPC and MPO, into one. Looking at internal controls is an important part of our audit. Nevertheless, we do not design our audit to identify control deficiencies. We review your internal controls as a means to design our audit procedures. But this is a summary of the work that we do related to internal controls with regard to significant transaction cycles, where we document an understanding of what those controls are in place. We perform walkthroughs to ensure that the controls are designed appropriately and implemented. And then we rotate our testing of internal controls. And so this year we tested cash disbursements controls, particularly over the disbursement of grant funds, which is substantially most of your cash disbursements. We also take a look at your journal entries. We employ data extraction software to identify unusual relationships in your general ledger, to determine what we should drill down on, what's the risky areas that perhaps need further explanation. And then, of course, we perform a cursory review of your IT controls, not as a readiness assessment, not as a measure of determine how sound those controls are, but in a way of being able to determine if we can rely on the output for purposes of our audit. Once we've identified and have looked at your internal controls, this is a summary of the audit areas that we spend most of our time on, reviewing cash and revenue and receivables. We look at payroll as one of your major expenses, And then we also look at things like the significant estimates that are embedded in your financial statements and any outstanding litigation that should be disclosed or possibly accrued in your financial statements. With regard to the single audit with MPO, there was one program that was selected as a major program this year that we audited, which is the Highway Planning and Construction Cluster, which represents the largest grant spending that you had this year. And again, the results of that audit of compliance of that grant yielded no findings. The remainder part of my presentation is just to go over some of the financial results. The financial statements are not comparative. They just show single year, although the management discussion and analysis does compare the 2 years and provide you with analysis there. For the Metropolitan Planning Organization, total assets decreased by $165,000 from the prior year, which is a 9% decrease. You'll notice that primarily assets of MPO consist of cash and investments and in grants receivable. Your cash decreased slightly, and then your grants receivable decreased by approximately $110,000. The reason for this is just due to timing with grants. When you look at your revenue from grants had decreased significantly from the prior year. MPO on the liability side, liabilities increased by about $62,000. You'll notice all of the balance is fairly consistent. There were some swings in the categories with due to other governments decreasing the most. That is mostly transactions with PPC. And then accounts payable and accrued expenses decreased or increased significantly, which is just a matter of timing of when those expenditures are paid. With regard to the revenue for MPO, total revenue decreased by approximately $700,000. And this is also a timing instance. I believe last year was more the outlier than this year, with significant more revenue or expenditures of revenue last year. The major variances with the capital investment grants, which you'll see was $663,000 last year, down to about $155,000 this year. With regard to the Planning Council, which has your pension and OPEB liabilities, those liabilities dominate the balance sheet, as we'll see here. First, on the assets and deferred outflows of resources, in total decreased by $173,000. Most of that was with the deferred pension and OPEB items. On the other side of the statement of net position, your liabilities and deferred inflows of resources increased by approximately $144,000. The big orange section is your OPEB liability. The big gray section is your pension liability. In total, the pension and OPEB liabilities had an effect of $375,000 decrease on your net position during the year. Now, with that, just to summarize, it was a clean audit on both accounts. We had full cooperation from management. Everyone that we asked to speak to, everything that we asked to see was made readily available to us. There were no control findings identified. And with that, I will open it up to any questions that you may have for me.
Any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. And we will now take a motion to approve, unless we want to separate them. I just assume they're taken together.
Move approval.
Yep.
Second.
Thank you. Did you get the? Who made the motion?
I did.
Commissioner Seal. Commissioner Long. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to another presentation for Resilient Tampa Bay and Karen Kozlowski from Cambridge Systematics. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me
Welcome.
today.
I'm here to talk to you about Resilient Tampa Bay Transportation. This was a federal highway-funded pilot project to be a reliability and durability project to help do a vulnerability analysis for the three-county region. So with the partners on it were, of course, Forward Pinellas, Pasco MPO, Hillsborough MPO took the lead, and then FDOT and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council were all active in this initiative. Just a reminder, you know, this area has 2.8 million in population. It's the second largest population in Florida. Over 1,000 miles of shoreline, and 58% of the population are in flood zones. So when preparing and using the vulnerability assessment is a way to help incorporate projects into the long-range transportation plans, hazard mitigation plans, as well as emergency management and post-disaster redevelopment plans. So this region is a vulnerable region throughout the nation, but it's also a leader in terms of this nationwide and receiving awards for this kind of vulnerability assessment. And moving into the coordination with emergency management is extremely important. Like I mentioned, it was a federal highway pilot, one of 11 that were issued. You can see the other here. There's some interesting folks in there. Allison Ye, who always presents this slide, likes to talk about the naval facilities. They're looking at all their bridges. So it's a wide variety of groups that are taking on these vulnerability assessments to be able to have more robust and resilient transportation infrastructure. Now, looking at resilience in and of itself, for me, is an important enough reason to do a vulnerability assessment and then start incorporating it in our planning. But there was also something in the FAST Act that required metropolitan planning organizations to start including this. So the FAST Act required the assessments of surface transportation in terms of flooding and reliability and coordination with emergency management organizations, emergency response organizations. So how does this apply in Pinellas? The Advantage Pinellas Plan does have a goal area related to having a resilient community, and then looking at projects as they go into the LRTP for mitigation, and then to adapt and address potential impacts, including from climate change and sea level rise. So just really quick, a little bit about the study. We did concentrate on the stressors of sea level rise, storm surge, and then general precipitation, just from rain events. We did 3 parts to the study. There is the vulnerability assessment that identifies which roads are at most risk for these 3 stressors. And then we did an adaptation strategy toolbox. This toolbox has got a list of the variety of strategies, such as raising the road and that, and I'll go through it in a minute, and with context of when to apply which type of strategy, as well as planning level costs to be able to start including the strategies in planning documents. And then the third element was an economic component, was to evaluate the return on investment for doing strategies. And so putting all 3 of those together helped to define a list of potential projects or opportunities for projects for each of the 3 MPOs. There was stakeholder participation throughout. We are at the end of the project now. We just need to do a federal highway sign-off. So throughout, the MPOs in particular visited with the various committees and groups to brief them on the project and let them know and get some feedback in. And we were using the One Bay community working groups as a steering committee for the project. So, like I said, we did for the vulnerability assessment, we did a full suite of assessments and that are available, looking at sea level rise alone and sea level rise in combination with storm surge. Remember, we were looking for 2045, so that's why we need to look at the combinations, as well as precipitation of 9 inches and 33 inches. For more detailed analysis, we looked at moderately high storms, moderately high events as for analysis, which was the Cat 3 high and the 9 inches of rain. Emergency managers, by the way, always take the worst case, which would be a Category 5. So to give you a preview of what this might look like in Pinellas, this is Gulf Boulevard today. And then in 2045, if the Category 3 storm were to hit, this was could be the level of inundation. This information was provided by the Regional Planning Council. So it's not necessarily the coast, the buildings are still there, there are no roads, but not very good that the building's there if you can't get to them. So anyways, it's an interesting viewpoint to see.
They got a boat.
Yeah. Thank you. I needed to see that.
I'll pull the canoe out of my garage. So, like I said, we looked at those two areas in particular. So these two graphics show you the high vulnerability and high critical facilities. The left is the storm surge, and the right is the 9 inches of precipitation. So you can see the darker colors, the darker purple, are the areas with the most vulnerability and higher criticality, and the lesser colors are the lower down the list. We used the same scale for both of these, which is why the 9 inches of precipitation does not look the same. If anybody were to take a guess, I don't know, would you suspect that for the region there's over 1 in 4 roads are impacted by the Category 3 storm for the 3 counties? So that's quite a bit. Port Pinellas, you're way over 50% of the facilities would be impacted with the Category 3 storm. And it's around 12% for each of the counties in terms of inundation and flooding. So what did we do with this? All along, we knew we were going to have to start prioritizing, right? It just looks overwhelming to see that many problems, so where do we start? And so we started by identifying what was highly critical and then what was highly vulnerable. And we kind of did a high, medium, low for each one, and then looked at that, the cross of high, medium, low, and looked in that top quadrant of both to be able to start identifying key projects to work on. So we looked at criticality through a stakeholder survey. This was sent to all the groups, the county agencies, cities throughout the region, and it asked what was important in terms of determining whether a road was critical or not. And it included such things as connectivity, how many vehicles it handled in a day, did it provide access to a freight facility, and things like that. Also, for an equity perspective, we made sure to include, did it serve communities with zero vehicles in the household. And then for high vulnerability, we used just the depth of inundation. So anything that was going to be over 11 feet, have 11 feet of water over it, was going to be in the high category, and it comes down from there. So 11 feet is pretty tall. Come forward. So this was the list for Pinellas in terms of the projects that fall in that high critical, the segments that fall in the highly critical and highly vulnerable area. And that, just going back, that somewhat relates to the map there. So moving on to the toolbox really quick, there are several types of strategies. You can start with kind of deferring inundation, and that's by doing stormwater improvements, right? The more stormwater retention and detention, then the water can go in there and delay the problem. Then another opportunity is to start addressing the roads so that they can survive inundation. So that would be kind of a hardening solution, making sure the base is there so that when the water recedes, it does not wash out the facilities, so they can be functional right away. Or a third option is to actually raise the elevation of the road and try to get it out of harm's way. So those are kind of some of the levels that we looked at in terms of the high, medium, and low. There's also a lot that can be done with vegetation, just to let you know, for hardening shoulders, and that grasses do a really good job of keeping the shoulders in place. So to help determine, as part of that toolbox, what costs, planning level costs might be, we picked 6 representative projects, 2 from each of the counties that fell on the highly critical list to do some, the engineers on our team did some concepts for these projects and identified some strategies to do it, and then created per mile and per unit costs that allow us to apply those strategies to any roadway facility in the network. So just a quick, to mention some of the strategies in the toolbox. We have the hardening of the base. We have raising the road profile. That obviously has some issues because all the roads connecting to a raised one have to be raised as well. So you have to be careful about doing that. Of course, enhanced drainage, protecting the medians, or raised or depressed medians can also help, particularly from a wave action perspective.
There are some more hardening solutions in terms of revetments and seawalls. And then there's also solutions that benefit property as well as transportation. So the wave attenuation and beach nourishment and natural shorelines do a lot for both aspects. So in terms of implementation best practices, where is the state of the art right now, there's kind of two camps. One looks at it from an asset management perspective and identifies the vulnerabilities through databases and then incorporates strategies to address them in the life cycle process when they're up for maintenance and refurbishment. And this is one that's typically done by state DOTs and the MPO. Then the other one is an asset-specific type of improvement. This tends to be done by more local governments, cities and municipalities. They look at just bridges, or they look at just stormwater master plans for their resilience, or they a lot of places, at least municipalities, are doing backflow preventers and getting a big improvement with that. Whoops. And then there was the cost of doing nothing. Like I said, we had a little bit of an econometric modeling done here through REMI and evaluating if to implement all the strategies that were in our highly critical, highly vulnerable, and that as compared to the economic benefit those facilities provide from a transportation perspective, it's about 2.5 weeks where if all those facilities were out of service, the economics impacts would be more than making the adjustments through the mitigation strategies.
Short of raising.
Yes.
It's short of
Short of raising. Well, I mean, no, if you raise, it would be even sooner. I mean, if you didn't raise, it would be even faster. Yeah. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation. I see on your map with the colors, the highly critical and vulnerable segment of the map, it does show alternate 19 in North County, from Clearwater north. I'm presuming that's alternate 19.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm looking at this one.
Yeah. Okay, that one. It's
Yeah.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, that like where 101 is. That's, I'm assuming that's all 19.
Okay.
But yet you said it's sort of related to the list, but I don't see alternate 19 on the list. Yeah.
Or we may have the name wrong, or we may have coded it as something else. I can get you a revised list that matches the projects, if that would be helpful.
Okay, so can you just tell me again what you're going to, what we're going to do about these roads of concern that are really vulnerable?
My understanding what the Forward Pinellas has decided to do is, in its long-range transportation plan, is to take the facilities that are highly vulnerable, highly critical, and then for the if they match up with projects that are in the long-range transportation plan, that money has been set aside to address those vulnerabilities as part of their maintenance and rehabilitation. So it's kind of touching them. When they're going to be touched for improvement, they are going to be improved more than what they are now. They're not going to be put back to the way they are now.
So
They'll be
what
enhanced.
that means is when we work with FDOT on the implementation of the recommendations from the Alt-19 quarter study, is we will ask them to incorporate resilient strategies as outlined in that toolbox that Karen mentioned.
Okay, because is that in your long-range plan? Because that's in sort of like the current thing, isn't it?
We don't have a priority in the next 5-year TIP for Alt-19 specifically, but in the long-range plan, we anticipate improvements in that corridor, just not necessarily capacity improvements. But we're not limiting this to when there's a widening or an overpass or something like that. It would be when we would do a resurfacing or any other kinds of
and capacity
of corridor improvement strategies.
Congestion management's what they're doing.
Correct.
I was confusing that with capacity. Okay, so they're gonna look at that when they do that project.
When projects come forward as a design in a design phase or preliminary engineering phase, yes, the toolbox will be referenced for what kind of strategy would be most appropriate for those corridors.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Rodney? Anything that I didn't say correctly?
No, you're correct, 100%.
Councilmember Rice.
Thank you, Chair.
So thank you for the presentation. So resiliency is so important. It basically has to do with how quickly we get back on our feet after an emergency or a major storm. That has to do especially with roads, which makes this such an economic development issue, as well as, I would imagine, fresh water, electricity, shelter. After Hurricane Sandy, that was an area that suffered a great deal of economic harm because it did take so long for people to get back to normal activities. We had a lot of roads just completely wash out. One of the things that we learned that happened, this may have been with Katrina as well, Hurricane Katrina, but a lot of these areas that are devastated get a lot of money that comes in quickly through the FEMA process. But then sometimes that money from FEMA goes towards rebuilding what was taken down in the first place. So what are we doing to make sure that the FEMA funds that come in go towards building new roads and new buildings in a way, we want to replace it with something that's resilient and obviously just not rebuild something that got washed away in the first place. So I'm sorry, my question might be going a little bit outside of the scope here, but I just think it's important to be looking forward in how we address that issue.
Sure, and I'll mention two things. One is FEMA is finally starting to relax its regulations on that funding. It used to be you could only build back to what you had beforehand. They're starting to recognize that that's not, practical. So we need to advance. So that's starting to shake out a little bit. The other one is, like I mentioned at the beginning, the connection between emergency management and response and planning is very important, and very few places are starting to integrate that. And that's, I think, the key to getting to your question in terms of we're good at response and the duration. We're good at before the event and during. It's the after that we need to start, doing more. I know there's post-disaster redevelopment plans and that, but I think that's the area where.
And I'll just add to Karen's remarks that we've begun to have an informal group that meets with the planning director from St. Pete, planning director from the county, emergency management, and to talk more about looking beyond just roads. How do we deal with resilient places and communities? And so the conversation has led to an acknowledgement that we want to have communities that remain after you have an incident. And so that may mean things like stronger building codes, building to more freeboard when it comes to base flood elevation. So I'm encouraged that we're having those conversations now with emergency management at the table, because we weren't having those conversations a year ago. And so I think that's where this is all going. It's a heavy lift, it's an ongoing process, but we are beginning to have those conversations.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate those comments. I know your focus was on transportation, but obviously we have to look at a lot of different layers as well.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we are. Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question may be a little outside of the box as well, because in all of the discussions on the different boards that I sit on, the one issue I don't hear being talked about is how our plans and our conversations are moving forward with regard to where our transmission stations and electrical grid are affected. And I'm curious about whether or not in all of your meetings that you're talking about, if there's anyone from, for example, Duke, that is sitting at the table, because if they're not, that's a big potential problem.
I'll just comment that a few years ago, the Department of Homeland Security selected the Tampa Bay area as a location to do a tabletop exercise. And this was a broad-based, probably 12-month planning exercise about the vulnerability of different asset sectors. So power was one of them. TECO was part of the discussion. I'm not sure that Duke was there, but they were part of the discussion in terms of what is most critical, what infrastructure is most critical, what infrastructure needs to get up and running the quickest. And so
Cell towers.
There was a final report that came out of that effort, but that was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and there haven't been any conversations involving the utility companies that I've been part of since then.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may be so bold as to make a request, I think it might be wise if somebody reached out to Duke, since they are our utility company here in Pinellas County, number one. And number two, we also have a fairly substantial gas pipeline running throughout our county, and they should be at the table as well, it seems to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Seal?
Yes, I'd like you all to go back and review, just for technical purposes, the map on 13 along with
Okay.
the list on 14.
Okay.
I think some of them might be all US 19.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Anything else?
Huh?
Anything else? Any other?
But it's an excellent report and gives us some ideas of how we can address this, especially the stormwater.
Okay, I agree. Okay, well, thank you for that presentation. We have no action today. Do you want to?
No action today.
Okay.
Get their beach back.
All right, we're going to, sorry, Sarah, we're going to jump down to
Do you have a
the
beach?
Forward Pinellas Grant Programs Awards.
Okay.
So, Chelsea, if you'll,
You know the marsh area that's over there?
thank you for
Street.
being flexible.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few folks here today that I'd like to
100
just
years ago, that's
perhaps
like, now this part of the beach on it.
get them addressed sooner, so go ahead.
So I'm here today to talk about the recommendations for the awards for the Complete Streets program. This is our 4th year, and we did receive 7 applications. That's the most that we've ever received for this program, so we do see that there's still a lot of demand from our local governments for this funding program. As a reminder, we provide up to $100,000 for concept planning projects and up to $1 million for construction projects. And the main goal of the program is to leverage our transportation dollars to fund those projects that we believe will have the most substantial impact on the surrounding land uses. So for the concept plans, we received 4 applications, one from the City of Largo for 4th Avenue, from St. Pete Beach for Boca Ciega Drive, from the City of St. Petersburg for 6th Street, and from the City of Pinellas Park for 78th Avenue. And there are full copies of all of these applications on our website if you want to flip through and get more details on them later. We did put together a subcommittee of our technical coordinating committee and our planners advisory committee who sat down and reviewed all the applications against the recommended criteria. And their recommendation for the concept planning was to fund the application from the City of Pinellas Park. This project is on 78th Avenue from 60th Street over to US 19. It's just a little under a 2-mile stretch of roadway. And this links the city center and the Performing Arts District. This corridor is also identified as a safer alternative for bicyclists and pedestrians to Park Boulevard. Currently, it's a 4-lane undivided roadway with some sidewalks but no bicycle accommodations, and it's fully within the city's CRA, Community Redevelopment Area. The subcommittee had a lot of discussion about this project and noted that the City of Pinellas Park has done a lot of land use planning in the area, and they believe that this transportation investment will have a substantial impact on the land uses on those 2 activity centers at either end of the corridor. And they commended the city for having the planning in place so that as this project is completed, the land uses can come right behind it. On the construction side of the program, we received applications from the City of Dunedin for Skinner Boulevard, from the City of Largo for 1st Avenue Northeast, and from the City of St. Petersburg for 28th Street. The subcommittee recommendation was to fund the project on Skinner Boulevard. The request was for $1 million with almost a $4 million local match for the half-mile stretch of roadway. The project will look at accommodations for all modes. The subcommittee did note that there are a lot of varied users along the corridor. There's a crossing of the Pinellas Trail and fairly low traffic volumes compared to other roadway segments. So there is some consideration for a lane elimination to accommodate all the improvements that the city is proposing. The subcommittee also noted that there is a lot of very strong community support for this project. So for the next steps, and actually I apologize, I did not update the slide. We are asking for board approval of the subcommittee recommendation. On July 1st, that money, the funding would be available for the City of Pinellas Park to begin development of the concept plan for 78th Avenue. And in a couple months, when we bring you adjustments to the multimodal priority list, we will be proposing that we add the Skinner Boulevard project to that list so that DOT can consider it for funding with the development of the next work program. And I'll take any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Seal.
It's not noted in your presentation, but I believe Skinner involves 2 roundabouts.
Those are part of the concept plan, yes, and those will be further refined as the project moves into design phase and into construction.
And I noticed that there were concerns for bike lane.
Yes, the subcommittee did note that in the concept plan, the placement of the bike lane, a couple of the committee members weren't really comfortable with it, so they did request that the city, upon receiving the funding, reconsider the alignment of the bike lane.
Okay. And the, I'm not going to be able to support this. I have met with the engineers. I am very concerned about the roundabout concepts that I traveled this road for 21 years on my way to the county courthouse. And during certain times of the year, there is very, very bright light. That's the sunlight that blinds you as you get to the Pinellas Trail on this roadway. And the new flashing beacons, which might be going away because of state law, but they seem to be working really well there at this point. And I am, while I'm supportive of giving the grant to the city of Dunedin, I am not supportive of building roundabouts there because I think it could potentially become an accident-prone area. It's not because I'm against roundabouts. I'm just concerned in this particular area with the Pinellas Trail being right there.
Okay. Mayor.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner. I know I've expressed concerns about the roundabouts too, but on behalf of the city, I will say I don't think the project it's a concept. I think we've been continuing to talk about those things. There are also other things that we want to be able to have on that road, such as golf cart crossings, which aren't listed. So I don't think it's a total complete project at this point. I think it's just a concept. I think the bigger point here is that we're trying to reduce the number of lanes, because right now it's 2 lanes one way, 2 lanes the other. It's kind of a little bit of a raceway, if you will. We're trying to improve the walkability and the multimodal transportation with bike lanes. We'll work on fixing the bike lane issue for the committee. And they're going to be really wide bike lanes, not the tiny narrow ones that are up farther on State Road 580. We're looking to widen the sidewalks considerably. We're also, again, looking for that golf cart crossing. We're looking for a couple of pull-offs for transit, like i.e. the trolley or bus, which may not be right in the plan right now. So there's a lot of good things that we're looking for. I just don't think anything is in stone.
Right.
Our biggest concern is being able to even cross Skinner. As a car, it's unsafe to cross Skinner if you don't have a stoplight or some mechanism. Right now, the mechanism is being shown as a roundabout. Doesn't necessarily have to be that, but some mechanism, let alone for a pedestrian or a walker or a biker or a golf cart, just wouldn't happen. So.
If I may point out that if the House bill passed on the rapid flashing beacons and you converted this to 1 lane in each direction, you could still keep the flashing beacons.
It would be okay then.
Because it's 2 lanes,
Right.
35 miles an hour.
But we have no assurances that the plans won't include roundabouts.
No.
At this point, you're awarding funds for the construction of a project that will be at least 5 years out.
Correct.
So it will have to go through a design phase. There's no obligation for the city to bring back the design to us, but they will certainly have to get approval from DOT for any design because it's a state road.
Any other questions on either one of the concept plan or the construction recommendation? Yeah.
I would like to just add and thank them, the committee, for recommending Pinellas Park. We're taking it to the next level. We actually workshopped last night as we're repaving roads in our community to start looking at the complete street designs on even our neighborhood roads that are arterial roads from the main roads. So our staff's kind of taken it to heart and is working to implement these even more.
Right. I do. Questions?
Good. Yes.
I really like the design Pinellas Park. That was really what your staff has done. That's a really cool project, and I think it will be very beneficial to the area. So I do support that. Question about the roundabout. I'm kind of hesitant on that one. What kind of support on your council is roundabouts talked about, or community right now?
It did have a strong community support, the folks that did turn out for the meetings, and I believe it was a strong council support.
Okay.
I'm just being honest. I think, once the design phase and once more people know about it, but yeah, there was a strong support, but we haven't seen the actual design phase and how it will all work, and, that's the piece that we have not seen. This has just been a concept. But yeah, the community did support it.
Okay.
If we have consensus on this, do we have consensus towards a roundabout? I mean, what would we, in this plan, be actually approving? Just to get it on the slate, or the actual design?
It would be adding it to the priority list for construction funding. The design phase will be happening over the next couple of years leading up to the construction.
So approving this will not be locked into a design with the concerns that I'm hearing?
It will not.
No. It will not.
It will not lock in a concept.
Let me tell you.
An RFQ for design, so.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say.
Introduce yourself.
Sure, Bob Iron Smith, City of Dunedin. We did have strong commission support, strong community support. We met with the hospital, we met with fire, we met with all the, EMS type people. We are looking to go out with an RFQ, so if we didn't know the roundabout's a part of this, that would be a huge change where we are. So it's not something where, yes, the project funding-wise is a ways away, but we wanted to go ahead and get it done so that we're, shovel-ready, if you will. So if DOT had the funds, we can move ahead a little quicker. So if we didn't have certainty on the roundabout, it would change our schedule relative to going out for our RFQ to get a design professional on board. So. And I do want to thank Forward Pinellas. We went through a very long planning process with 4 or 5 public hearings, and the people were very supportive. They're very concerned about the speeds on Skinner, so they want to make sure that they were able to move vehicles, but they also want to have safer speeds, so as the mayor's mentioned, for crossings and things of that nature.
Thank you for that clarification.
And could I just add one more thing? The funky thing about that road is because Douglas, and I'm speaking directly to you because you know the road so well, because Douglas is so close to Alt 19, there is no ability to do a stop sign or a stoplight there. The only thing FDOT will allow us to have is a roundabout. So because it's so close to the other road.
But you could just narrow the roads. I mean, go down to 2 lanes, which would force the traffic to slow down.
True. But the part of the problem is the crossing on Douglas. It's impossible for people to cross there. I mean, people turn into that center turn lane, the suicide lane they call it, and sit there for a long time. That's the problem there. So it needs the ability for both pieces of traffic to go across. So it needs some type of way, a stoplight, a stop sign, a roundabout, or something.
One consideration is if the concern is the proximity of the Pinellas Trail, you may recall that in the roundabout design that's happening for the Alt 19 corridor in Palm Harbor, FDOT is relocating the alignment of the trail to provide a little more safety for that location. We'll have their project manager back here in April to talk about those adjustments that they're making in response to the adjacent business owners. So I do think that those considerations can be made during design, and we are happy to work very closely with DOT and the design consultant hired by the city to ensure that the designs are acceptable and accommodating and safe for all the users of that corridor.
Any other comments on either one?
Could we separate them as separate
Yes,
projects,
mhm,
please?
we will.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take the concept plan that has been recommended for the city of Pinellas Park first. If I can get a motion for that.
So move. Second.
That. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The concept plan to Pinellas Park has been approved unanimously. Construction application for Dunedin Skinner Boulevard. Need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion.
I'm sorry.
Got it?
Who was the second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Could they raise their hands, please? The two for no. Okay. That motion carries as well. Thank you. All right. Now, where's Jared? Jared, hello. Come forward and talk about some placemaking grant pilot program. Planning and placemaking.
All right, good afternoon. Jared Austin with Forward Pinellas. Today I'm just going to be walking through the planning and placemaking grant program application evaluations and awarding of funds. So we received 2 applications this cycle, the first being from the city of Pinellas Park. This was a funding request of $100,000. This was for the funding of a conceptual master plan for their city center district within their community redevelopment area, with a total project cost of $411,000 and a local match of $350,000. Overall, the committee felt that this application had a very strong connection to the planning and placemaking grant criteria, specifically as it relates to the relationship of the city center district within a major activity center as identified within the countywide plan. And in addition, its relationship to the planning and urban design principles outlined within the countywide plan. Because of this, they felt that the proposed application or the city center district master plan would help to contribute substantially to a sense of placemaking within the Pinellas Park CRA. And in relation to redevelopment and investment, they noted the relationship of the city center district to the broader Pinellas Park Community Redevelopment Area Master Plan, which identifies this area along with several others as major areas of economic redevelopment and investment in Pinellas Park. In addition, the committee felt that the local match of $350,000 was a substantial one. In addition to that, however, the committee did feel that they would have liked a little bit more clarity within the application as it relates to specific projects that would be identified within the city center master plan, or if not projects, policy initiatives. The second application we received was from the city of St. Petersburg requesting $100,000. This was to fund a 2-part project, essentially. One for the development of a St. Pete specific demonstration and pilot project guide for streetscaping, in addition to a county-wide best practices for demonstration and pilot project guides. The total project cost was $100,000 and there was no local match. Overall, the committee felt that this project would allow members of the public to get hands-on with the planning and placemaking process, specifically as it relates to pedestrian-friendly planning and placemaking activities and streetscaping. In addition, they felt that this type of project would allow the city to implement and test pedestrian-friendly projects without them having to go through the more lengthy process of gathering construction funds, getting identified on a work program, that sort of thing. And also they felt that this type of project would help to activate public space and generate a market base for walkable mixed use and commercial within the downtown. That said, the committee did not feel that this application met the planning and placemaking grant criteria as strongly as the other application, and there was also a mention for a desire of greater matching funds. In addition to this, a couple of the members did feel that the resources would be best spent for the city of St. Petersburg to focus on just the St. Petersburg specific project as it relates to the demonstration and pilot project guide for streetscaping, just given the varying communities throughout Pinellas County and how much each one of those vary from one another. They felt that just the implementation of the city of St. Petersburg guide could help to use as a template that other communities might look at and develop their own strategies. So overall, the verdict. The committee felt that both projects were strong, both in regards to the local impact and as well as the county as a whole. And they felt that the strengths of each application far outweighed any of the missing components within the applications. Because of this, the committee decided to award both the City of St. Petersburg and Pinellas Park $50,000. Both communities were reached out to and did confirm that they could complete each of their proposed projects with the award funding allocated. In regards to next steps, the Planners Advisory Council did meet and reviewed the committee evaluations and determined to pass those unanimously. So the next step would be for you all today to make a recommendation. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have. And we do have members from each community here to speak on behalf of each of the applications, should either or any of you have any specific questions about those.
Thank you, Jared, for that presentation. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner
I just
Selfer.
wanted to know if any of the representation for Pinellas Park and St. Pete had any feedback on this project. If that's appropriate to ask.
Yeah.
Just outside.
Council.
We're,
Councilmember Rice, go ahead.
we're delighted, 2 words, thank you.
60 seconds.
Any other questions for Jared? Okay, thank you, Jared. Need a motion here, please.
Make the motion.
Okay.
Second?
In a second. Smith, no.
Okay, David Albrecht.
Gotcha.
Cemetery.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you, and Sarah, sorry about that detour. Come on up to talk about the Unified Work Program.
Good afternoon, Sarah Caper for Pinellas Staff, and like the chair said, we're going to talk today about the Unified Planning Work Program. The Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, is a required document of all MPOs. It's required by the federal government and the state of Florida, and it's where we document all of our transportation planning funding, especially the MPO grants. We adopt this every 2 years, and the current UPWP was adopted in May 2018. It goes from July 1st, 2018 to June 30, 2020. The one we're looking at today would go from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2022. This is the schedule for the UPWP. The reason we set this schedule is to match with the requirements that the state of Florida FDOT has. So in February, the committees reviewed this. You're reviewing the draft now. We'll send that to the review agencies, and we'll receive comments back from them in April. You'll get the final version of the UPWP in your May board meeting. We'll send that to the review agencies, the state and federal agencies, in June, and then July 1st, this document will be effective. As the MPO, Ford Pinellas receives multiple grant funding sources. They're listed here in the chart. The Federal Highway Administration Planning Grants, or PL, which is the majority of the grant funding the MPO receives. We also get Federal Highway Administration SU, or STP funding. Federal Transit Administration gives us 5305 grant funding. That all 3 of those go through the Florida Department of Transportation. For the FTA grants, we do receive a match from the state, and Pinellas County has been providing a local match for us. We receive a small state grant from the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged for TD planning. In the UPWP, we list all of these grant funding sources. We describe how we're going to use them, what tasks we do, and summarize the budget activities. In the UPWP, this draft, we have 7 tasks. This divides how we do the work that we do, and I'll go into more detail on all of these in a minute. This is the total budget for the MPO grants. This is just the grants that we receive as the MPO, not the PPC funding or the funding that the PPC provides to support transportation activities. So you can see the majority of the funding goes towards personnel. This is for staff salaries and benefits. Then we have consultant work, which includes money that we give to PSTA for 5305 for some of their planning activities. It includes the complete streets items that you just heard, the auditor that you also saw today. So all of these come under consultant funding. We have direct expenses for things like rent, insurance, printing, and then we have a small travel budget. The first task that we have is 1.1, which is general program development and administration. This is where all of our direct expenses are. So all of those rent, insurance, technology services all fall under 1.1. This is also where we support the activities of you as a board and do our procurement processes. Task 2.1 is public outreach. This is a little deceiving because a lot of our other activities have public outreach within them as well. So you'll see in special projects we're also doing public outreach. We're doing public outreach pretty much in everything that we do, but we do have this one task set aside for that specifically. Monitoring activities is where we do our traffic count program, our data collection and analysis, socioeconomic data, all of that comes here. Systems planning is the majority of what we do from a planning perspective. This is bike ped, active transportation planning. Our public transportation program is here. Complete streets, local government support, all of that comes together for systems activities. We have a newly joined task, which is long range transportation plan development and implementation. This also includes the TIP. Formerly they were separate, but since the two are very related, we have merged them here. This is one of the tasks that in the current UPWP is significantly higher because this UPWP cycle we developed our transportation plan Advantage Pinellas. Now we are supporting that and doing the TIP. We have a regional task. This is where we work with our partners. We work with the other MPOs, the Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Council, the MPOAC. We have all of the activities we do with TBARDA and other agencies fall under this task. Then we have special projects. This is where the Vision Zero effort, Safe Streets Pinellas is. It's where we do the downtown St. Pete mobility study. Any kind of special project that we might do falls under here. The spotlight areas, the Gateway Master Plan, all of those are special projects. We also have some funding set aside to look at new and evolving technologies as part of this. So right now, today, we're asking you to transmit this to our review agencies. They include FDOT, Federal Highway, and FTA. We'll get their comments back and modify the document as needed and provide an updated draft for you in May for approval of the final version. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Sarah?
Move to approve.
Move to approve the transmittal.
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Welch. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to G, Transit-Oriented Development and Value Capture Study. Professor Taryn Sabia is here. Professor's in the house. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I feel like I should make you all stretch your legs a little before we get started.
Just doing that.
And I'm kind of not kidding. If anyone does need to stand up or stretch, please go right ahead. So thank you so much for having me. So we're going to talk a little bit about transit-oriented development and value capture. First, I'd like to introduce you to the Florida Center for Community Design and Research. We're the research arm at the School of Architecture at the University of South Florida, founded by the Florida Legislature in 1986 to assist the citizens of Florida in creating more livable and sustainable communities. Some of you might be familiar with some of our projects. We worked with the city of Oldsmar on revitalizing Oldsmar, their CRA update plan, and we are conducting the community vulnerability assessment and mitigation design strategies for Hillsborough County. So we'll start with a couple definitions. Our definitions are for transit-oriented development itself, so what is it? And we're looking at the compact mixed-use development, which is near transit. We'll talk about what that near means, but transit-oriented development is the development that really connects people to all the different types of amenities that they need on a daily basis, or even weekly, depending on whether they're visiting the dry cleaner, grocery stores, education opportunities, jobs, and such. Value capture is the value of the land that transit confers on a piece of property. So we want to be able to harness that value in a certain way, and there are different methods, tools, and techniques that we'll talk about that allow you to do it. When we got started with the study, we looked at a number of reasons why you would want to look at TOD. So some of what we're looking at really is to be able to increase our ridership. We're looking for the health benefits. We're looking for economic development opportunities. We're looking at ways that we can increase affordable housing. TOD really does help leverage the number of things that are on this list in front of you. And so what we really want to be able to focus on is how we can begin to leverage those items. We looked at a number of places. So we looked at case studies all around the United States. We looked at BRT, so bus rapid transit examples. We also looked at some rail examples, but we were really looking at the fixed transit opportunities and wanted to be able to put together a series of best practices. So those best practices really came in the way of being able to look at how we could generate performance-based goals and looking at the communities that are doing that. We also were looking at value capture methods and different types and ways that people were utilizing value capture and what are those. We looked at design standards and how we design TOD station areas themselves and what are the benefits of doing that. And we also looked at zoning. So what does zoning do? What does it look like around TOD in our area? So some of the key components when we looked at performance-based goals, this is a list that really does cover some of those general topics that we found over and over. So supporting 21st century transit is one of them, sustainability, affordability, and really being able to focus on equity, mix of uses, and these are things that we're seeing through those performance-based goals around the country. So we have a couple case studies. The first is San Francisco. One of the biggest benefits, and I would say San Francisco, BART, really does have some of the most robust performance-based goals. And what they are focused on is value capture and creation. So not only do they want to harness that value, but they're looking at creating value through their transit-oriented development. And this was key. And they're tying that value creation back to affordability. And so that connection is something that they have tied metrics to. And that's why we look at them as one of our more robust examples. We look at LA as well. And this area really has focused a lot on looking at housing and transportation affordability combined and wanting to reduce those expenses overall by focusing on how to reduce dependency on the automobile. And this has been the connection that they're making and the metrics that the LA area is tying to transit-oriented development. We look at value capture. We have primary methods. We have secondary methods. And really, when we look at primary methods, tax increment financing is one of those primary methods. We're familiar with it here with our CRA areas. But they're also using special assessments, developer fees. Secondary methods include naming rights and being able to begin at that bottom. I don't have a board behind me. So the curve, right, starts out, transit gets announced, that curve begins to grow. And you want to be able to take advantage of it as soon as that curve starts to grow, because that's where you're going to see your biggest increase. And then you're going to have another little steady growth of increase after transit opens. So one of our examples is Dallas. Dallas has 93 miles of rail. They have really capitalized on the value capture component and also value creation. They have a TIF that is set up so that it can be used across multiple districts. So it is along the entire transit line instead of just being in a single boundary. And so one district can collect funds. Those funds can be used in another that might be struggling or need redevelopment. It's a way that they expand their transit system. They pay for maintenance. They also pay for pedestrian or other infrastructure improvements within the TOD areas. So they have really capitalized on this to be able to go across 93 miles. We also looked at New Quincy, and this is really a partnership in development where the government is reimbursing the developer for some of the public infrastructure that they put in place. They used partnership agreements to accomplish it, and this was a smaller scale than Dallas. we're going to move on to our next category. So looking at those design standards, and this is where I talked about being near transit and how near. So how near, we're looking at that first quarter mile. So that center circle, that's going to be our most walkable area. It's going to be the 5-minute walk. So we call the 5-minute walk that most people are comfortable doing. And it's within that quarter mile. The next zone is going to be the half mile. You're going to also see property values increase in this area. It's still walkable, it's bikeable, but it's a little outside of the transit station itself. And then the outside ring is that mile. So this is our transit supportive neighborhood. So this is where we see the transition happen, typically, where our densities might be at a lower density and they stack up and build up as we get to the center. And so that's really what we want to look at in terms of being able to focus on the quarter mile, half mile, and then the miles surrounding our station areas. So we have a couple examples. This one here really focuses on pedestrian scale along the corridor. They're focused on keeping buildings oriented to the streets, and they're really looking at how to make a complete street, and they're using a BRT system to do it. And our next one, this is an example of the health line. This is thinking rail while using bus. This is BRT, but one of the really interesting pieces that they were able to accomplish was being able to bring out the unique identities of their neighborhoods across the line. So each place that you stop that has a different neighborhood identity. So you just heard a little bit about the placemaking aspects, and this is an area where you could really build that in and help it to be one of those identifiable features within your TODs. So we also looked at the zoning and being able to focus on what zoning looks like around the TOD areas. And so we looked at a few case studies. This one really looks, again, this is the same example from Richmond, but it's along the entire length of the corridor. So your TOD zones are blended and they come in. We're looking at mixed use areas. They're creating new mixed-use categories based on the needs that they have to be able to accommodate both the existing areas and redevelopment opportunities. And that's a key piece, being able to look at how they can redevelop through new mixed-use zoning typologies. This is an example of Arlington. What I really like about this graphic in particular is you can actually see those rings, right? The center ring and then moving outward. And you can see that there's a little bit of overlap between the TOD areas here because they're stopping and they're creating tighter, denser centers around their station areas. But this was inserted into existing neighborhoods. And this was a way for them to both preserve and enhance the existing neighborhoods with new redevelopment opportunities. So again, we come back to why do it. When we look at Cleveland and we look at their initial investment of just under the $200 million, and they've generated $6.3 billion of economic development along their line, this was a key piece. So really focusing on that. The other piece that I'll draw you to is reducing the particulates and being able to actually reduce the pollution that their community faces. And so that was another key aspect for them. It was an important piece, right, when they looked at some of those performance standards that they had. Since it is the health line, they wanted that to be a facet of what they were looking at. When we look at Arlington, when we look at Roslyn, 8% of the county land now generates 33%. Yeah, right? I mean, it's an amazing feat if you can really figure out how to capture that value, where it is and where to place it, because your redevelopment opportunity means that you can begin to generate a lot more income overall. So why? Why do it? Some of the things that we are looking at are changing demographics. We're looking at single households becoming the dominant household type. We're looking at older adults outnumbering younger adults. 71% of older adults want to be within walking distance of transit, according to AARP. These are really key demographic shifts that we need to be aware of as we move forward. When we look at housing and transportation combined, the average household in the United States spends 51% of their household income on housing and transportation combined. So when we take transportation out on its own, it's at 19%. And for communities that have access to transit, it's as little as 9%. That's going to be for like New York City. When we're looking at Boston or Portland, they're around 14 to 16% of household income on transit. So for our lowest income households, this is significant because our lowest income households can be spending upwards of 55% of household income on transportation alone. This is Pinellas. So Pinellas is over the national average at 57% on the combined cost of transportation and housing. The national average, again, is 51. And when you look at where that breakdown is, we're significantly over transportation costs by about 5%. So if people could gain back anywhere from 5 to 10% because of transit-oriented development and access to transit, that's 5 to 10% more income that they have to spend in other areas. We also looked at creating zoning typologies. So we looked across the region, and we found that every one of our cities, counties, FDOT, MPOs have different definitions for TOD. And so we wanted to take into account all of those along with the best practices and look at creating a series of typologies. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm going to go through them rather quickly. I know you've had a lot of presentations today, but they're here in the presentation for you so that you can go back and take a look. We do have recommended FARs to go along with these. And really, these key questions are most important, right? Have we designed goals for our areas? Do we have those performance-based metrics in place? I really want to direct your attention to the second one, right? For value capture. The cheapest piece of property may not offer us the best return on investment. And so making sure that we're putting things in the right place is significant in terms of being able to really take advantage of that potential for redevelopment. So just like in Arlington, where 8% of the county land is generating 33% of its income, that's something that we really want to consider ahead of time. Again, looking at zoning principles and making sure that those items are in place to take the best advantage of value capture opportunities, and then using it to really create those unique, identifiable places within our communities, and using TOD as a way to help emphasize some of that placemaking that we already have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? I think we need to make sure we're encouraging more babies. Sounds like, although everywhere I go, it seems like there's more and more. Everywhere you turn, there's a lot of babies. So maybe we have a demographic shift that we haven't identified yet. Yes,
I have a question. This seems like this would be, okay, so bus routes can be changed, but a line is a more permanent. So it just seems like this comes in, this is a great concept. It just seems like realistically it comes more into play like on a fixed line.
It does. Mm-hmm. So this is really based on fixed lines. Okay. Because development wants a sure thing. So it's looking for that fixed commitment.
Right. Okay. But I would say that bus rapid transit certainly is an element of that. The Cleveland example that she gave is a bus rapid transit. Okay. Because you're really looking at a whole package of street treatment, infrastructure, design elements, and if you've been following the Central Avenue bus rapid transit, it's been a 15-year effort, probably longer from the planning, and that's a significant commitment of resources, time, and energy, and that's what the development community is looking for, is that commitment.
That's right again. Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us for all of these presentations today.
I'll just add real quickly that this is one of the aspects that's a tool in the toolbox. Our countywide plan does anticipate and enable and have all the right standards for transit-oriented development to come. So we're ready. I think what we are really looking for is, do we have an investment, and do we have the market response to that investment?
That's page 237.
Okay. If we haven't had enough presentations yet, PSTA, come forward with your transit development plan. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Welcome.
For the record, y'all got off easy the last couple of meetings. So.
Well, I will say that at our monthly coordination meeting with the Ford Pinellas staff and DOT, predicted my presentation would be at 3:30, and here we are, so it's pretty impressive. Which one do I use, this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this presentation is about a required planning document called the Transit Development Plan. This is required by the Florida Department of Transportation in order for us to get certain pots of funding. So nothing in the plan is really new. It basically rolls up a lot of other planning efforts we would do anyway. Things like our community bus plan, which is looking at the service planning. Things like our budget, our public outreach, our PSTA scorecard. So although this plan is adopted after the long-range transportation plan, it is very coordinated. And so all of our work was done in conjunction for these planning efforts. And that is why we have, you might notice here, co-branded the plan as Advantage, or the plans, I should say, as Advantage Pinellas. So we're calling this Advantage Pinellas Transit Plan component. So the PSTA's plan serves as the 10-year bus service or transit service plan and vision. And it has a lot of required elements. It requires us to do situational analysis. It requires us to incorporate a budget, and then to also evaluate various alternatives. So the 10-year plan is updated every 5 years with what's called a major update, and that's really an opportunity to completely revisit everything and to incorporate any new planning work. And then each year, in the interim, we submit a progress report updating the DOT on our progress towards the projects in the implementation plan. So we wanted to take this opportunity to share with you all, and those that have seen this presentation before, this wasn't in there, some of our accomplishments related to the last major update. And so we have implemented a number of projects and programs that were in our previous implementation plan. And some of these you will see later on in our current implementation plan because we would want to continue them. And so I will only go through them once, but one of them is our innovative programs. Over the last few years, we've implemented a number of programs that have on-demand services and that complement our bus network with Uber, Lyft, taxis, and wheelchair partners. We also have been working on our sustainability efforts, and so we've been making progress on changing our fleet. And so as we retire old fleets, we've been replacing them with hybrids and electrics. That's just one example. We also have developed a lot of partnerships with local jurisdictions. The the Blue Jays Park and Ride was mentioned earlier. We have Park and Ride for the St. Pete Pride Parade, and then we've done a lot of spring break related partnerships. In terms of our service planning, we did another community bus plan, and that, or I guess our previous community bus plan, we implemented some of the improvements recommended in there. And then we developed a performance monitoring scorecard, which is something that's happening across the industry for us to really dig into certain metrics and make sure that we're on track. We've also received a number of grant awards, so they're listed here, but we're really proud of our efforts to apply for almost anything we can apply for and to get some of those awards. We also are at 100% design of our Central Avenue BRT and are just awaiting that funding announcement from FTA. We did receive a medium-high rating, which is very good. We are in the process of implementing a new fare box project. So we're doing Flamingo Fares, and it's in beta testing now. And this is a partnership project with HART and a couple other transit agencies in the region. And as part of this, we're implementing a new fare structure that involves what's called fare capping. So what that does is improve equity across the system for riders so that as you pay for each trip. Once you reach a day, at the cost of a day, you don't pay any more that day. Once you reach the cost of a monthly pass, you don't pay any more for that month. So that someone isn't being penalized for only being able to pay cash for all of their trips. We've made a number of operational enhancements, so we know, and you'll see later, our riders really want to see more frequency and faster, more direct service. So we did our first limited express route on our Route 52, which has some of our highest ridership in peak periods. We increased Route 59, which runs on Ulmerton Road, to every 15 minutes. And then we continuously look to make improvements. Every 3 times a year, we evaluate our routes. We look at what customers say, we look at our on-time performance, and we try to make tweaks so that they do operate more efficiently.
How's the park and ride service for the spring break go? What's the ridership on that? Do you have any-
I don't know offhand. I can get that for you, but I've heard it's going well this year so far. But last year, we had record ridership through that program. But we've done a lot with the City of Clearwater to promote it, to put out signage, and they've really been good partners in that. And then our goals are based on the guiding principles that are included in our scorecard, and those are tied to things like community support, financial stability, customer satisfaction, right there in the middle. Not that it's in the middle, it's probably the most important thing. Employee engagement and commitment to performance. Oops. And then in terms of outreach, we did our own outreach affiliated with the community bus plan. Things like we did a major onboard survey during March and April of 2018. That gave us a lot of data and information on our current riders. We did an online survey and also went out to a number of community events asking people to rank. If they only had $10, where would they put that money into from a whole list of different improvements? And then we did focus groups with our bus operators and our customer service representatives to really understand what they see on the road, issues they might know about that we over in administration wouldn't know about, and then things they hear from riders. We also looked at the Advantage Pinellas outreach. They have a much broader outreach base. They really, look to the entire community, not as focused on one type of rider. And from that, we hear different things. So on the next slide, you'll see what our riders tend to say. But from the Advantage Pinellas outreach, we hear that from a community basis, public transit is deemed important, but that some of the projects that they're looking for include more of the express bus services and trolley services that are used by people that aren't necessarily using it every day. From our riders, the top items are more frequency, later evening service, more weekend service, and then faster, more direct routes. These are very common across the industry. We do have a lot of routes that run still every 60 minutes. Maybe none, or some routes that do not run at all on Sundays. Saturday frequency gets a lot less across the system. So people do want to ride 7 days a week, and obviously the nature of jobs is 7 days a week. It's not just the weekdays. Some of the really more interesting facts I pulled from the onboard surveys is that over 40% of the trips are between home and work on the bus, and that over 60%, the next one's not on here, but over 60% of our fixed route riders are employed either full or part-time, with the majority of those being full-time. And then 64% use the bus 5 days a week, kind of consistent with that work ridership. And then on our trolleys, we did do this during spring break, but I'd say maybe not to as great of extent, but we do see this year round. Over 35% were for recreational sightseeing. So we do have a lot of tourists using the services. We have partnership programs with a number of the hotels where their visitors can use their key cards to ride for free. So that certainly helps in that as well. And then of the trolley riders, 46% were not Pinellas County residents during this time. So again, we're capturing some of the visitor market, which is a little bit unique in terms of a lot of transit agencies. Our situational analysis also included looking at demographics. Probably the most interesting thing we saw from this was the age of the population. It's expected the population 65 and older is 26% now, expected to go to 32%. So that's important to us because we need to know how we're going to provide transportation even more transportation to that demographic, and it could have effect on our budget as a lot of people in that age group tend to use paratransit instead of the fixed route bus. So either making the fixed route bus more usable for that group or lowering the cost of paratransit services. We look at major trip generators, just like the Ford Pinellas LRTP does. We look at our route performance, and then we compare ourselves against peer agencies that serve similar sized populations, run similar revenue hours, and just make sure we're not off track with those. Right here, this is just a graph about passenger trips per revenue hour, and we're right in the middle. Probably the best we do in this group is in our operating cost per revenue hour, which tells us that we're being pretty efficient with our revenue in terms of the service we provide. And then we finally have to look at alternatives. And so for this 10-year plan, we looked at two main alternatives. We looked at a maintenance plan, so kind of comparable to the cost feasible plan that Forward Pinellas includes. And this would be maintaining our existing services and then implementing fully the Central Avenue BRT. And then we did an optimal plan, which is kind of like the first 10 years of the LRTP's vision plan on the transit side. And that's the frequency and span improvements, new express routes, and it also includes a number of unfunded operating and capital priorities. Our implementation plan really is continuing those projects that I talked about earlier. One thing I didn't mention earlier is we are now constructing an electric bus charger at our lay-by by the administration building. And we're going to start putting our electric buses on more routes. Right now it's only running on the Looper in downtown St. Pete. And then also, we really want to continue our amenities program. We successfully completed a number of shelters in the Skyway Marina District that we partner with the City of St. Pete on. And so they funded either 50% of the cost, the whole cost, and then there was some PSTA did entirely because we had really high ridership. So we're going to be expanding that in St. Pete, and we're talking with other jurisdictions about doing something similar. We, of course, are going to continue our service partnerships. Our trolley services are in part funded. The Jolly Trolley is in part funded by a number of communities in North Pinellas County, and then the Looper is in part funded by the City of St. Pete. And in terms of unfunded projects, these are all those things in the optimal plan. And this list of projects is really what we can draw from as additional funding becomes available. So, for example, Forward Pinellas, I'm sure you've heard Whit talk about kind of the 3 priority corridors we'd look to implement BRT type service on next: 34th Street, Alternate 19, Roosevelt East Bay. So, for an example, if money were available to go ahead and put some kind of bus lane and transit signal priority on 34th Street, we could go ahead and do that because that project is in our plan. And then in terms of other projects, we look to this list, and it gets much more detailed than this when there's grants available. And grants really depend on the specific grant in terms of what projects you can apply for. I was asked earlier how these are prioritized. We have a lot of priorities, but it depends on the source of money in terms of which projects might go next. We try to have as many projects ready as possible. And that is the summary of the plan, just an information item for you today. It's posted on the MPO's website, Forward Pinellas' website, and will be on PSTA's website soon. It goes to our board in 2 weeks. So if anyone wants to provide comments in that period, you're welcome to.
I just want to say thank you for coming to our board before you went to the PSTA board. It's, so you all have an opportunity to provide some feedback and questions, and we really appreciate the partnership we've had over the last year.
And we appreciate it too.
And I'm assuming that in the conversation that's going on between MPO, PSTA, and the county commission, and the plan that's being put together and going to be discussed later this month and next month in anticipation of a possible referendum for a congestion management tax, I'm calling it that until I hear something better, that most of these unfunded projects have been identified as a part of that funding.
Yes, a portion of these have been identified. I don't know, it depends on the level of funding, but we would pull from this list, and I think for the current conversation, the priority projects that are discussed are pulled from this.
Okay, right. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner, or Mayor, excuse me.
Hey Heather, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I was noticing on some of the things you've been working on, the autonomous vehicle pilots, and I know that the city of Dunedin was supposed to have a kind of a autonomous vehicle people mover pilot this spring, and I don't know, something happened, maybe couldn't get the grant funding.
There were a couple things that happened. There was some federal regulations. I don't know the full details,
Yeah.
but that wouldn't allow autonomous vehicles on public roadways. So I think that's being worked through. We did apply for grant funding. We haven't heard anything yet about it. So we would hope that would come through. But they still they are in our priority list as well to implement these.
Because we were really excited
Different
about that
projects,
whole,
yeah.
that whole kind of thing. So you're going to continue to move.
We are.
With or without referendum.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We are working on whatever partnerships we can to try out the autonomous vehicle projects, and then depending on how the pilots go, keep them around.
So interestingly, your stats on the trolley, 46% are not from Pinellas County. And I will repeat these numbers over and over again. We have 1 million people living here and over 15 million visitors every year, and we talk about traffic congestion. So the idea that the users of the trolley, that 46% of them are from outside of this county, what in your plan are you working on to improve the frequency?
Well, in the unfunded plan, we do have the Jolly Trolley North Coastal going to 30 minutes. The frequencies on the Clearwater Beach are pretty good as it is today. The Looper, we recently did some tweaks to their schedule to improve the consistency of the frequency. And then the Cat and the Suncoast Beach Trolley don't have any plans right now. In the unfunded optimal plan, we improved the frequency on the Suncoast Beach Trolley as well. But again, it's looking for funding to implement these changes. Doubling the frequency is very expensive. But yes, it's important to us, and those trolleys, all those numbers do include, like the Looper is almost 100% visitors. Clearwater Beach is pretty heavy on visitors. The Coastal gets more of a mix, and so do the other two.
Right, because I mean locals use it as well, but they're keeping their cars off the road by using the trolleys. So to me, it's definitely a congestion management thing.
Oh, yes. There was actually a stat on, there's a stat on here that 29% of those trolley riders said they would use a TNC, Uber, or Lyft if it wasn't available. So there definitely is an impact to traffic.
Yeah.
I'll also add that we, at the direction of the board, are looking at the Alt US 19 Cultural Corridor Phase 2 work, which is the whole Alt 19 corridor up to Tarpon Springs from Largo north, and transit is a key part of that cultural corridor and building that into our redevelopment and mobility strategies and accessibility along that corridor. So I can see PSTA working with us on some excursion kind of packages to promote that for people who want to go to makerspace and art museums, art centers, things like that. So it's a nice tie-in. But having better frequency would be a key part of that, right?
Anything else? Heather, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
Thank you all for your
presentation.
time.
Appreciate it. Okay, director's report.
Okay, home stretch here. Thank you very much. I just want to cover a couple things under Spotlight Update. Just yesterday, I provided the Florida Department of Transportation with a little package summary of our Honeymoon Island, Dunedin Causeway Boulevard traffic operations and management pilot project. They are meeting with the Assistant Secretary in Tallahassee today to talk, among other things, I imagine that's not the only thing on the agenda, but to talk about potential participation in this pilot project. And the idea is to implement a package of safety and mobility enhancements, including innovative technology such as advanced traffic management, cameras, turnarounds, enhancements to Honeymoon Island State Park that the DEP would be responsible for constructing to facilitate ingress and egress, not just into the park, but to the causeway itself. So we're optimistic this can be a win-win-win-win for multiple partners. We'll let you know what we hear from DOT when they return on that. We did have a very successful meeting, I thought, last Monday or Tuesday with the planning directors for the Gateway Area Master Plan from the city of St. Petersburg, Pinellas Park, Largo, and the county on how we want to handle the implementation and adoption of the Gateway Master Plan. We wanted to get the planning directors' feedback on that before we have our next study management team. The idea is to draft a set of guiding principles and a memorandum of agreement on actionable items that each local government would be responsible for implementing to carry out the plan. Rather than adopting the plan itself, it's not meant to be a regulatory plan, it's meant to be a guiding plan. And they were very enthusiastic by that. The planning directors asked us to make it as specific as we can to give them leverage to talk with public works directors and city managers and their commissions so that they can advance those projects as well. So thought that was all very positive. We continue to work with our partners up and down the beach community on enhancing beach community access. And for US 19, we had a request from the business owners along a segment of US 19 north of 580 to consider modifications to the proposed underpass just north of 580 for bicycles and pedestrians. I've asked Secretary Gwynn and his team to address their request by looking at pros and cons of the current location relative to a possible co-location at Republic Drive, for instance, instead of just south of Republic Drive. And just to remind you all, DOT is responding to this board's direction of trying to place a bicycle and pedestrian accommodation underpass or overpass about every half mile or better. And they're doing that. They're incorporating that into design. The business owners have some concern about visibility, the lack of pedestrian bicycle activity currently at that location. But we did a staff analysis, and if we made no land use changes and nobody came to us for land use changes between 580 and Curlew Road, you could see as many as 2,600 new residential dwelling units without any land use changes. So just because nobody's walking today, we're building infrastructure for 30 years. So we've asked DOT to at least tell us the pros and cons of that location and look at, is there an impact of moving it north to Republic? And we'll hopefully have that information in advance of our April board meeting so they can report back on that. I think that's it on the Spotlight update. Okay. For transit funding for the Kennedy report, this will probably be the last meeting we have this on the agenda, because I think we're going to have some workshops and information at the Board of County Commissioners level, likely in April. You know, I can certainly keep you posted on that, but I think this is moving along as a result largely of our funding workshop that we had in early January of 2019. And we have been working very closely with the county to tee up a conversation with the board about how to fund not just transit, but solving some of our congestion problems that we have along our roadways and improving safety. We still have a real safety problem in Pinellas County, and all three are very complementary to just the mobility needs and dealing with the 15 million tourists and dealing with the growth in our region and dealing with the growth in our county. I don't really feel a need to keep this on the agenda. I think events will play out over the next month or so on that. Our legislative committee met right before this meeting, and I thought we had a pretty good discussion. It also looks like it'll be the last meeting of our legislative committee until probably October. But we discussed a couple of bills. One, certainly to the light of Council Member Gabbard, the House and Senate have agreed upon full funding of the Sadowski Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So that's a win-win. First time in anybody's memory. I know you've been working at this for 10 or 11 years.
Isn't that passed?
Yeah, well, it's in the budget conference.
The budget.
You want to say what you said?
They're not adjourned yet, so I would just cool your jets
knock on wood.
until Siny died.
And they did say, because of the coronavirus, that they could be shifting some funds around.
Anything's possible, but
Amen.
I'll take this as a positive step that at least it made it this far with that commitment. So I think they've heard from a lot of us on that. We also talked about House Bill 459, which was a bill aimed at limiting the design elements that local governments could incorporate on single-family homes. That's a real hardship for infill development, particularly in St. Petersburg and other communities where there's a high demand for infill development. That appears not to be moving, so our letter of opposition may have helped. House Bill 519 was a private property amendment, which was a huge liability for local governments because it conferred expectations on similar situated properties, even though they might not have been directly affected by some kind of taking. So that has, the onerous language has been removed from that bill, so maybe they read our opposition letter as well. Senate Bill 410 by Senator Perry was a growth management bill that was a property rights element that was required of local governments and had some impacts potentially on our countywide plan and Pinellas County because it only exempted counties over 1 million population. They have since lowered that threshold to counties over 750,000, so the impacts are not affecting Pinellas County, but it does affect other counties statewide. We don't know that that's going to become law, however. And then finally, we had an extensive discussion about House Bill 1371 and Senate Bill 1000, which is the crosswalks bill dealing with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. The House passed a bill with some very modest, minor language allowing local governments to keep the crosswalks if the devices have to be removed and put in a different type of device. That's really cold comfort because it would still remove any crosswalk and rapid flashing beacon on 4-lane road or any road over 35 miles an hour. And that's 38 rapid flashing beacons and crosswalks on Gulf Boulevard on the 4-lane section. It's a bunch of other ones, probably 70 or more in St. Petersburg of the 93 they have. The Pinellas County impact is $28 million. The St. Petersburg impact is $6 million. Don't know all the other cities in the county. Palm Beach County has 686 of these devices. We have 400. The Senate analysis and the House analysis did not take into account these statewide local government impacts. This is a disastrous bill from an appropriation standpoint and a disastrous bill for safety. It's completely misguided. Every professional organization I know of has written letters of opposition. St. Petersburg adopted a council resolution opposing this bill.
Yeah, we did too.
So it's moving in the House. Hopefully it's stuck in committee in the Senate and will not be taken up by another bill. I think it's incumbent upon us, though, to educate not only our legislators but the public and do a better job about the use of these devices. So I'm going to recommend to the DOT potentially that maybe in their legislative package next year they include an education component for mid-block crosswalks of all kinds. I think it's really needed. To Clearwater's credit, they put up signs saying pedestrian needs to stop and cross-street traffic, do not assume it stops at their mid-block crossing. So, maybe that's something that we look into further requiring. But these things work really well. And I talked to the Big C group, and the mayors were adamant. We don't want to go back to carrying flags across Gulf Boulevard. We will be killing lives again if these things have to be removed.
Why did they, we talked about this before, but why didn't they contemplate putting red lights instead of?
They did.
Then they could just change out the yellow.
So the bill actually does say change the lights from yellow to red. The Federal Highway would have to approve that. There is no device anywhere that goes from blank immediately to red without a yellow phase in between. Even railroad crossings have the gates come down. So you would have to have the Federal Highway really go back on, 50 years of the manual and uniform traffic control devices to allow this. So people think there's virtually no chance. People who write the manual and uniform traffic control devices think that will never be allowed. Now, there are the Hawk hybrid beacons that are being installed on Park Boulevard in Pinellas Park. We think those devices actually are better suited for high-speed, 40, 45-mile-an-hour, multi-lane roads like Park Boulevard. You can also put in a pedestrian crossing signal, which, but those are minimum $300,000 or so. The flashing beacons are generally $10,000 to $15,000. So there's a big financial impact, and then you have to meet a higher level of warrant and standards for these other devices to go in that you don't have to meet for the flashing beacons. So it's just a step backwards to really allow automobiles to reach top speed and limit pedestrian accessibility. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that?
Quick question.
Yes.
Have we gotten to a point yet where when people go to DMV to get their driver's license, that a review of the flashing yellow caution for pedestrian, is that part of our driver's manual?
That's a good question. I'll have to look into that.
Maybe we could do it even on a Pinellas County level.
I mean, there's a whole host of things from the driver's manual and how people get licenses that probably need to be looked at, again, from a safety standpoint. You know, if you're interested in safety, there were actually other bills filed that would have done a whole lot more for safety, including requiring penalties for injuring and killing vulnerable road users and taking away a driver's license and things like that. Those bills didn't even get a hearing in committee. So, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. But I think your point's an excellent one about how we train people to use our roadways. The 82-year-old woman who killed the 12-year-old in Brevard County that set off this spate of bills was stated as saying she did not believe she had to stop because of the flashing yellow beacons and the human in front of her. And she was not charged.
She was not.
Not charged.
Wrong with that.
As of now. Now, potentially that could change. So I'm a little outraged.
She didn't realize that they.
Anything else on the legislative committee?
So.
What about,
That's what I
I know
mean.
that, you know, the hotels and all have those
It's like-
informational
She had
packets.
to
Is it
stop.
something that we can
We should just
educate
move.
our visitors on our, to highlight
Yeah.
certain traffic safeties?
Absolutely, and great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Mayor Kennedy just left, but we had a meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, with the executive director and the creative lead for Visit St. Pete Clearwater about producing a video or series of short videos aimed at the visitors to our community on YouTube. They could be on Facebook. They could be promoted that shows how you use these devices and what you need to do to be safe. So they're moving forward with that, and we have a meeting set up with them on Friday at 11:30 to begin storyboarding that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We do have the cards that get distributed and the door hangers and things like that at the hotels. We've done that in the past.
Okay, thank you.
If it's okay, I'll move on to the TMA Leadership Group meeting. You should congratulate our chair, Dave Eggers, for being voted as the chair of the TMA Leadership Group for all of 2020. The vice chair is Commissioner Mariano from Pasco County. So that was great. It was the first meeting in a long time. We had all three Pasco County representatives there. I think they knew there was a vote. The second vice chair is Commissioner Kim Overman. So we have a little bit of a subcommittee formed of the TMA Leadership Group, which is great. I think that subcommittee can be of one of each three, but we now have a chair and then a vice chair from Pasco County. The group also agreed to meet twice a year to discuss the prioritization or phasing of transit grant applications to the Federal Transit Administration. You may know that there is this regional rapid transit project that we've been talking about on the I-275 corridor. There's also the Tampa streetcar extension project. There is a bus rapid transit arterial BRT in Hillsborough County that's being advanced. There's our 34th Street corridor project. There's the Central Avenue BRT corridor, which is first in line and already in the federal process. We don't want to step on each other's toes in submitting these applications in the same year to FTA and undermining our efforts. So we want to sequence them. But a lot can change in 6 or 8 months, and we made the point of, while you may start out with a list of how those priorities may shake out, you really need to be looking at the readiness of the application from a design standpoint, from a community support standpoint, and from a funding standpoint. Do you have all your ducks in a row lined up? And so we agreed to revisit that at least twice a year at the TMA Leadership Group and to coordinate with TBARDA and the HART and PSTA and PASCO transit agencies to make sure that happens. So I thought that was a pretty good development. And we had a good discussion about those kinds of projects too. Anything else, Mr. Chairman, you want to add to the TMA? The last item on our agenda is a local coordinating board appointment. We sent emails out to each of you, and we ask you to be thinking about an appointment to our LCB to fill the seat formerly occupied by Patty Johnson. We need to take action on this either today or at the April meeting to appoint an elected official to serve on the LCB. And Sarah, this would be the only elected official, but we're required to have at least one. Is there anything you want to add to that? Sarah formerly was our chair, was our staff person for the LCB. That's now Robert Feigl, but you're here.
I'm here, yes. So the LCB is required to have an elected official as chair. Right now, the elected official that serves as chair is the only elected official on the board. It could be a member of the Forward Pinellas board, but it could also be an elected official, any elected official in Pinellas County. So Patty Johnson, as you know, was not on the Forward Pinellas board. She, at a time, was a PSTA board member, but not the whole time that she was chair. So anyone you know throughout Pinellas County who is elected is eligible to be the chair.
So I don't see anybody jumping up right now that wants it, but be thinking about other folks and maybe talking to them over the next 30 days so that we can address that in April.
We'll be sending reminders out to you all in the intervening weeks.
I believe there are several elected officials, county commission and municipalities that use PSTA and Uber and things like that on a regular basis, and I think that type of person would be the perfect person to be involved with that.
And PSTA, right, don't they oversee the funding of that now? Or we get it and give it to them or something? Is that how it works now?
Yeah, we're the planning agency for it, and they are the operator.
Operator.
Yeah.
So even somebody from PSTA that...
Councilwoman Patty Johnson did her ever-loving best, whether it was Tallahassee or DC, to make sure that we got as much money that was available. And sometimes if, she got wind that there was, another municipality that didn't take advantage of it, to make sure that Pinellas County had every opportunity to get it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, since we might pick somebody that's not even here, they might be surprised by our choice. Anyway, be giving that some thought, and we'll be talking to a few people too. I thought your comment was right on target, so got a few people in mind. So thank you. Anything else? Aaron?
No, sir.
Okay, just continue looking at the information that we've sent out. There are a few vacancies. CAC has 3 openings, one for St. Pete, one for Largo, one for at-large. LCB has 3 openings for citizen, for a TD rider, for public education, and one for children at risk, a citizen who is a TD rider, one for public education, one for children at risk. So, be thinking about those representatives. Just upcoming events, you can see them right there. Please keep those in mind. And 2 things I wanted to close the meeting with. First, thank the board for 3 hours and 5 minutes of your time today. I know it was a little bit long, but these are things that we need to be at least getting comfortable and familiar with. So some of these presentations are really important. And I just wanted to make the observation, and I'm kind of excited about a blend of talent that's in our PPC and NPO organizations. Skills and experience, some young folks, some less than young folks, but less than young. I said less than young, plenty much younger than I am.
Seasoned professionals.
Yes, seasoned professionals. Thank you. But it's really nice to be seeing a really good set of employees here. And the talent that we have and the excitement that they bring to the organization. So, Whit, thank you for all the work you're doing and all of your leadership for bringing on some new talent as well.
I love to see his passion about this legislation. You don't normally see Whit, get his dander out. So it's kind of cool to see his dander even on Facebook. I mean, he's going after it big.
You should have seen him with the elected officials, too.
Yeah. So in the office,
that excites me.
One of the things the legislative group wanted to do is meet with our legislators when they come back in the off season. So I'm sure we'll hear about our passion, but that's okay.
Thank you, Chairman Eggers, for that observation, because today, with all the presentations by the new staff, it was really wonderful to see the talents that you all bring to the table, and we're excited that you're with us.
We're excited they're with us, too. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.